So there I was drowning, water going up my nose, lungs screaming, the whole nightmare package. Then I saw a face coming toward me, an old guy with yellow teeth, breathing all gross and heavy, grinning like a creep. Don't be scared, man. Big brother's here. He. His fat hand reached for my waist.
Gross.
Also, my brain picked that exact moment to dump a truckload of memories into my head. Turns out I wasn't me anymore. I was now stuck inside the body of some poor girl from an old-timey novel I used to read, and this creep was about to save me from drowning, so I'd be forced to marry him. Spoiler. In the book, that marriage ends with 3 years of beatings and a cheap straw mat instead of a coffin. No thanks. So instead of panicking, I took a deep breath, grabbed his ankle, and dragged both of us straight down to the lake bottom. I don't know where I found the strength, but I used it. Found some weeds down there, tangled his foot up nice and good, then swam off before anyone noticed. Let him marinate a little. He'll live.
Probably.
While all this was happening, some system voice started buzzing in my skull. Binding host. Success. Cool, normal, very normal. I sprinted home, brain replaying the whole ridiculous plot of this novel. 3 side characters in this story, including me, are basically just walking misfortune generators created to make the female lead's life sparkle. The girl who pushed me in the lake gets a payout and a husband. My cousin steals my mom's jewelry the moment I'm gone. Everyone's out here scheming, and apparently my job was to die sad and forgotten. Not today, buddy. I burst into the house and caught my cousin red-handed, gloating over her stolen loot like a cartoon villain. I did the only reasonable thing. Smacked her over the head with a door bar. Boom, lights out. Then I grabbed her bracelet, and it just vanished into thin air the second I put it on. Turns out I'd unlocked some dimensional check-in system, and it was throwing a welcome party in my brain. Free supplies, healing patches, fever medicine, a truth charm, a refresh charm, and bizarrely, a fertility pill promising twins. Thanks, system. Very useful. Very normal starter pack. I was about to vacuum up all the stolen jewelry into my fancy new pocket dimension when a hand grabbed mine. I looked up, and there he was. Big, serious, judging me hard. Stealing is bad, little girl, he says, like I'm the criminal here. Excuse you? I'm literally the victim in this scenario. I yelled that I'd scream, pervert, at him, and he flinched back like I'd thrown acid. Turns out this guy is the actual male lead of the story. Well, now demoted to second lead, since I'm rewriting the plot.
Didn't matter.
I grabbed my stuff, shoulder-checked him on the way out, and used my magic refresh charm to instantly dry and clean my soaked clothes. He tried to stop me, you shouldn't go out like that, and I basically told him to mind his own business. Left him standing there, stunned, while I stormed off toward the lake, with him chasing after me, scowling the whole way. Meanwhile, that other guy, Liu Yifeng, had no clue what just went down in the house. He peeked around, saw nobody watching, shut the door, and chased after us. We all got to the lake and, surprise, there's already a whole crowd gathered. Front and center. Li Chunchao, crying her eyes out. I'm not lying. I saw Manman fall in the water with my own eyes. What if something happened to her? Then extra dramatic. What if someone rescued her? I saw Uncle Da, who heading this way when I went to get help. She didn't say it outright, but everyone got the picture immediately. You could practically see the gears turning in people's heads. If Da who really rescued me, everyone knew exactly what kind of rescue that would turn into. The team leader, Wang Da Fa, noticed the gossip getting gross fast and shut it down. Nobody actually saw what happened. Don't ruin the girl's reputation over rumors. But loudmouth Xiao Chuifan wasn't having it. Please, if nothing happened, why would Chun Chao make it up? She'd be terrified of the Qiao family finding out. Except everyone in the village knew my family's third branch was basically the unwanted stepchild of the Qiao clan. Nobody would come running to defend me anyway. So Chun Chao wasn't scared of anything. Zhao Chuifan kept going. Guess our village's got a wedding coming. Just wonder if that skinny little thing can survive Dahu. Cue laughter from the crowd.
Great.
Love that for me. That's when I walked in. Literally just strolled up like nothing happened. Excuse me, coming through. The crowd froze. Everyone stared. Chun Chao, still mid-sob, didn't even notice at first. Poor Man, that Dahu guy is even older than. I smacked her across the face before she could finish. What exactly are you spreading about me, Chun Chao? Enjoying ruining my reputation? She looked at me like I was a ghost. You're supposed to be dragged off by Dahu. Why are you here? I have no idea what you're talking about, I said sweetly. I just came from home after using the bathroom, heard something happened here, and rushed over. Why would you say I got dragged off? Are you blind, or just making things up? That's impossible. I saw you fall in. I saw Dahu pull you out. She panicked, too flustered to notice something very important. I was completely dry. I mean, obviously, she pushed me in herself, and she'd hired Dahu to save me. There was nobody else around to swap in for me. So from her perspective, this made zero sense. Meanwhile, I'm standing there thinking, how did this idiot manage to ruin someone's entire life in the original story? Girl's not exactly a criminal mastermind. I turned on the waterworks and looked at the team leader like a wounded puppy. Uncle, look, my clothes and hair are completely dry. How could I have just fallen in and gotten rescued? Chun Chao's making things up in front of everyone. Imagine what she says behind my back. Please, you have to help me. Everyone checked. Yep, bone dry. The crowd's opinion of Chun Chao dropped instantly. Even Zhao Chuifeng got embarrassed and switched sides fast to save face. Chun Chao, how could you spread lies like that? So irresponsible. Chun Chao stared at me, completely baffled. She knew she pushed me in. So why was I dry? She must have gone home and changed clothes. That's it. I rolled my eyes. Everyone look, is this the same outfit I wore to work this morning? The women nearby checked closely and nodded. Yep, blue and white plaid shirt, black pants, black shoes. Even the patches are in the same spot. I pouted dramatically. And here I thought you were my best friend. This is how you treat me? Guess everything else you told me was a lie too, like Auntie Lan sneaking off with Uncle Xuanzhu in the haystack, or Erhua's son actually being Zhao Yang's kid, or the accountant fixing everyone's work points. Fun fact. All of that gossip was actually true. Everyone in the village whispered about it privately, but nobody ever said it to the people's faces. I brought it up for two reasons. 1. Chaos is a great distraction. 2. Payback, since apparently these same people were going to make my life miserable later in the original story, so why not throw them under the bus first? The reaction was instant chaos. Guilty as charged. Auntie Lan started screaming the loudest. You little brat, how dare you make things up about me? And she launched straight into slapping Chun Chao across the face. Erhua dropped to the ground, wailing and slapping her own thigh. Oh heavens! At my age, accused by some child. My son looks exactly like Zhao Zhong. How dare she call him someone else's kid? Just let me die right here. The accountant Lu Yun was fuming too. I've worked hard for this village my whole life. How dare you call me corrupt? I wouldn't have kept this job for over a decade if I were as terrible as you say. Internally, I thought, buddy, you kept that job because your father-in-law is a county official, and everyone knows you can barely do third-grade math. But sure, let's pretend it's about your integrity. I kept that comment to myself and just enjoyed the show. Honestly, watching all this unfold saved me from wasting my truth charm. No supernatural tools needed when people implicate themselves this well. The team leader, worried this might turn into an actual brawl, called the aunties over to break it up. But Zhao Chuifeng kept running her mouth, which only made Erhua and the others angrier. Even the spectators started getting nervous, worried Chun Chao might have been gossiping about them too. Finally, the team leader snapped. You all want your work points docked? Keep it up. That shut everyone up immediately. Chun Chao looked up, eyes burning with resentment. Man, even if I got it wrong and wrongly accused you, it was because I was worried about you. I meant well. I don't care if I get blamed, but you shouldn't have dragged everyone else's names through the mud over it. Sure enough, the fence-sitters and the crowd started shooting me dirty looks, like I was the one ruining village harmony. Not my problem. I stayed cool, dabbed at fake tears that didn't exist, and sniffled dramatically. Is Chun Chao really sure nobody heard her nonsense? Then I looked straight at Lu Yuan and silently begged him with my eyes to back me up. He didn't move a muscle. I gritted my teeth and said out loud, Lu was literally standing right there when you said all that. He can confirm it. Instantly, everyone turned to stare at him. Lu Yuan's eyes narrowed dangerously. He was clearly thinking, this girl has some nerve. Does she assume I'm too antisocial to say no? Because he definitely hadn't heard any of that. I waited a beat, then silently mouthed at him. So, Deputy Battalion Commander Lu, are you taking responsibility for me, or for Da Hu? His pupils shrank just slightly. His fists clenched. He stood frozen for a long moment, then nodded.
Yes.
That's right. I nearly sighed with relief. Getting a stiff, morally upright, military officer to lie for me? Not easy. But hey, I had leverage. See, here's the thing about Lu Yuan, principled but not stupid. He'd come to this village on assignment, which meant he'd definitely already looked into everyone here, including Da Hu. If he and his buddy hadn't jumped in to save Da Hu from drowning, it's probably because they already knew the guy beats his wives and preys on young girls. No official complaint, no official punishment, but privately, looking the other way was easy enough. Except he's military. A leader, no less. If word got out he watched a man drown without helping, his career would be toast. And now I'd basically outed his secret identity to myself, which meant he couldn't risk anything happening to me until he figured out how I knew. Plus, he had actually seen Chun Qiao push me in. So really, backing my lie wasn't that big a stretch, right? Since Lu Yuan had a solid reputation in the village, his nod convinced most people instantly. Before Chun Qiao could argue, I jumped back in, and it's not just him. Huir, Aunt Chi, and Zhaodi all saw you gossiping too. Not entirely a lie, actually. The original Man had no real friends, so she used to hang around Chun Qiao a lot. And yeah, Huir and Zhaodi really had walked by during their whispering sessions multiple times. Whether they actually heard anything specific, who cares? The point was just planting the idea in everyone's head. Sure enough, Qian Hui and Zhao Zhaodi nodded firmly. Yep, that girl's always slacking off and gossiping about people. Chun Qiao had nothing left to say. Her face went pale. The team leader, thoroughly disgusted, made her apologize to Auntie Gui Lan, Hua, and the accountant. He knew full well those three weren't exactly innocent, but he wasn't about to let the village's fake harmony bubble get popped by Chun Qiao of all people. She had no choice. She bowed and apologized through tears, looking pitiful and wronged. Nobody felt sorry for her, though. Just as everyone was about to disperse, someone asked, Wait, we've been talking about Da Hu this whole time. Where actually, I asked Da Hu. My eyes lit up a little. I thought to myself, it's been a while now. That creep's probably long gone by this point. I stood there, perfectly calm, watching Chun Qiao start panicking. Chun Qiao, didn't you say you saw Da Hu heading this way? Where'd he go? She started looking genuinely frightened. She realized this whole situation had spiraled completely out of her control. There was no way she could admit she'd lured Da Hu here herself, not without implicating herself if something actually happened to him. She shook her head furiously. But Da Hu's mother, who'd just arrived, wasn't letting her off easy. Chun Qiao, tell me straight. Did my son really not save that Man girl? She'd been secretly hoping to score a free daughter-in-law out of this. Bad luck, lady. I put on my best shocked face. Grandma Zhao, please don't spread rumors. I just got here myself, same as everyone. They can all vouch for me. Da Hu's mother froze, then turned back to Chun Qiao. Forget Man, where's my son? I've looked everywhere and can't find him. The crowd laughed. Probably napping in some shade somewhere. That actually made sense to Da Hu's mother. Her son voluntarily doing honest field work in this heat would be the real miracle. The team leader tried once again to send everyone back to work, when suddenly a kid picked something up off the ground. Ooh, what's this? Da Hu's mother took one look and froze. That's my son's pants sash. Why is it here? Oh, a pants sash. That's a very personal item to just lose. Maybe Da Hu was off somewhere getting cozy with some village wife. Once the sash entered the picture, the gossip took on a whole new scandalous flavor, and everyone got a lot more curious about Da Hu's whereabouts. They swarmed Chun Qiao again, demanding answers. Someone even suggested SHE might be the one who was getting cozy, with accusing the thief of catching a thief. Cornered and overwhelmed, Chun Chao finally snapped and pointed at the suspiciously calm lake.
He fell in.
He drowned. Oh, there it is. The truth, finally. I felt genuinely delighted. Chun Chao had basically hung the whole thing around her own neck for me.
Perfect.
I quietly slipped backward into the crowd to enjoy the show from a safe distance, only for Lu Yuan to grab my wrist out of nowhere. He leaned down, voice cold and low right by my ear. Who are you? What are you trying to do? I shrugged him off easily, smiling.
I'm Qiao Manman.
The real deal, no substitutions. And what I'm doing is called self-preservation, obviously. Relax, I won't expose your identity, and I won't interfere with whatever you're actually here to do. All I ask is, when it comes to the Chun Chao situation, you stay on my side. I patted his chest. Look at me, explaining myself. Like you actually have another choice here. Lu Yuan looked like he wanted to strangle something, but forced out a smile anyway. Qiao Manman, you're really something. I nodded. Obviously. He composed himself quickly. Out of curiosity, how exactly did your clothes dry so fast? I didn't even blink. What are you talking about? I never fell in the water. My clothes have been dry the whole time. He knew I was lying. But he couldn't call me out because doing so would mean admitting he'd been lying too, which would be very bad for his mission here. While the two of us stood there in a silent standoff, Dahu's mother had already recruited 2 or 3 young men to go search the lake for her son. Deep down, she didn't really believe her strong swimming son could have drowned in calm water, but Chun Chao's confession had rattled her just enough to worry anyway. Early summer lake water isn't exactly freezing, so the 3 young guys wasted no time splashing around, kicking up waves. Who wasn't hiding in some secret spot. The water was just dark and reflective enough that you couldn't see anything from the shore. It only took the boys about 5 minutes to spot him. There he was, pond weeds wrapped around his ankle, arms hanging limp, gently swaying with the current. The young guys resurfaced looking absolutely terrified, faces drained of color. Dahu's mother asked frantically, "There's nobody down there, right? My son's an amazing swimmer. There's no way anything happened to him." Nobody answered. The team leader, Wang Fa, immediately sensed something was very wrong. He shot a look at Wang Xiaoshun, who understood instantly and ran off to fetch Dahu's father, old Zhao Zhen. "Just tell me," Wang Fa said. "What's going on?" The boys exchanged glances, then finally forced the words out.
Oncle Da Gao.
He's at the bottom of the lake. What? That's impossible. Dahu's mother refused to believe it, shaking her head. My son can swim. There's no way he drowned. That little witch must be lying, cursing my son. And with that, in front of the entire crowd, she slapped Chun Chao hard across the face, adding fresh damage to her already swollen cheek. I heard the smack and flinched hard, like I'd been the one slapped. I actually stumbled back a step. Lu Yuan looked even more confused now. This girl had the nerve to knock a grown man unconscious earlier. So why did watching a slap turn her pale and terrified? If only he knew what was actually going through my head. That's not fear. That's generational trauma. Because in the original novel, this exact woman beat poor Man constantly, 3 beatings a day, easy. The author spent pages describing the original girl's misery just to make the heroine's happy life look shinier by comparison. So yeah, hearing that slap made my own face hurt on principle. Chun Chao's ears were ringing. After a long moment, she staggered behind Wang Fa for protection, her voice hoarse. Team leader, please help me. Annie Zhao, let's talk this through calmly. Nothing's confirmed yet. Why are you taking it out on Chun Chao? Wang Fa felt like he'd aged 10 years in the past hour. What kind of chaos was this village manufacturing today? Being team leader was giving him a headache the size of the lake. He didn't expect one sentence to calm Dahu's mother down, so he turned back to the 3 boys in the water. Is Dahu really down there? Yes, sir. His ankles tangled in weeds. That explained the mystery of a strong swimmer drowning. Just bad luck. Wang Fa told the boys to cut the weeds loose, then tried comforting Dahu's mother. You heard them. It was an accident. I'm sorry for your loss. She turned and glared at him venomously. Easy for you to say, when it's not your son down there, Wang Da snapped. I'm trying to be kind here, and you curse my son back at me? Lin Wanhua. Nobody does that. Right then, old Zhao Zhen arrived. The second he saw his son's body surface, his legs gave out, and he collapsed to the ground, sobbing. Who? Why did you leave us so soon? You were the last branch of our family line. Even Wang Da sighed hearing that, poor guy, losing his only son. What a rough road ahead for him. Hearing her husband's wailing snapped something in Da Hu's mother. As her son's cold, pale body was brought closer, she rushed to help, cradling him. Son, why were your feet tangled in weeds? It's only May. Why were you even swimming? Then, suddenly it hit her. Wait, Chun Chao, didn't you say you saw my son fall in? Why didn't you call for help when his feet got stuck? I did call for help. I called everyone to save Man. That doesn't make sense. My son is the one who drowned. Why would you drag Man into this? All eyes swung back to me, refusing to let her scheme collapse without a fight, and her reputation along with it. Chun Chao pointed straight at me. It was her. She pushed Hu into the water, and she threatened me not to say anything. The second those words left her mouth, old Zhao Zhen charged at me, teeth bared, ready to avenge his son, only for Lu Yuan to grab his arm and pin it behind his back. I rolled my eyes, thoroughly done. Chun Chao, can you go 1 minute without dumping garbage on my head? I told you. I just got here. Why are you so determined to ruin my name? I've got nothing to hide, so let's just call the police. Actually, you keep changing your story every 5 seconds. Maybe you pushed him in, and you're the one crying thief to cover your own tracks. I glanced around the crowd as I said this, and Lu Yuan. Notice my gaze lingered a beat longer on old Zhao Zhen than anyone else. Team leader, I continued. Chun Chao was the only person by the lake this whole time. However, Da Hu actually died. She's the only one who gets to decide the story. Let's just call the police. I trust they can sort out the truth. That single suggestion made the whole rowdy crowd go dead silent. I turned to Lu Yuan with wide, innocent eyes. Comrade Lu, you're educated, you'd know. Isn't deliberately destroying someone's reputation a crime? Don't you go to jail for that. He knew exactly what I was doing. He nodded anyway. Yes. Depending on severity, anywhere from 3 months to half a year in detention. In serious cases, they get sent to the far northwest for labor reform. Most villagers hadn't gone to school, so this was easy to scare them with. Even Chun Chao went pale with panic. No, don't call the police, please don't. Her face drained of all color. Classic guilty conscience behavior. I scoffed. If we don't call the police, how am I supposed to clear my name? I never even went near the lake, and you've accused me multiple times. Chun Chao, do you understand murder is a serious crime? Once the police investigate and confirm it, you get shot. You've seen a gun, right? Looks like this, bang, straight through the forehead. Brains and blood everywhere. Eyes stay open forever, can't even close them when you die. While saying this, I made a little gun shape with my fingers, aimed it right between her eyes, and went. Bang. That was enough to completely break this 16-year-old girl. Even though Da Hu's death technically had nothing to do with her directly, her reaction made it very hard for anyone not to connect the dots. And honestly, Chun Chao wasn't innocent to begin with. She was clearly terrified the police might dig up more than just this. Please don't call the police. I was wrong, it's all my fault. Chun Chao sobbed, collapsing to her knees, snot and tears everywhere, begging for mercy. Seeing her confess, sort of, Lin Wanhua and old Zhao Zhen practically vibrated with rage. They pounced on her, crying and clawing at her, and within seconds, Chun Chao's face was decorated with a fresh set of scratch marks. The rest of the villagers finally showed up, late as usual. First thing I saw was my cousin, Qiao Manman, glaring daggers at me, surrounded by the rest of my lovely, bitter extended family. Chun Chao's parents heard about the disaster and rushed back from the quarry. But instead of comforting their daughter lying there sobbing, they walked straight past Da Hu's body and started beating Chun Chao themselves. Peak parenting. Da Hu's mother shoved past them, screaming, "Don't try that fake concern on me. Your daughter got my son killed. You owe me his life." Chun Chao's parents didn't even flinch. They just kicked her aside. "We've got no money. Take her life instead if you want." I stood there, thoroughly entertained. Some parents, am I right? Truly inspiring stuff. I knew perfectly, well, Chun Chao begging me earlier wasn't guilt over Da Hu. She just didn't want me calling the police. But why would I help her out of this? In the original story, this girl made Manman's whole life a living hell. And in real life, she tried to get me killed multiple times in just one day. Not killing her myself was basically me being generous. Lu Yuan's voice cut in at the worst possible moment. "Qiao Manman, doesn't any of this scare you?" I looked at him like he'd lost his mind. Why would I be scared? I didn't kill anyone. If anyone should be scared, it's Chun Chao. Everyone answers for their own sins eventually. That shut him up completely. Since he had nothing else to say, I went back to enjoying the show. Wang Da Fa, head pounding from all this noise, turned to me. Man, I know this isn't your fault. Let's set aside the police thing for now. I'll make sure you get a fair outcome." I switched personalities instantly, nodding sweetly. "Whatever you say, team leader." Slightly relieved, he turned to Chun Chao. "Why did you push Da Hu?" "I didn't push him." "I really didn't, team leader." Chun Chao knew nobody believed her anymore, but stubbornly refused to admit it anyway. "Then why didn't you call for help? And why did you drag Man into this?" Every part of her body ached as she answered. "I saw someone fall in the water. Their back looked like Manman's, so I called everyone over. Turns out I was wrong. Man never actually fell in. Having failed to pin anything on me repeatedly, she'd finally landed on a reasonably believable excuse." I raised an eyebrow and lightly poked Lu Yuan's arm. He dodged away instantly. I didn't take it personally, just muttered to myself, look at her, finally using her brain. If she'd said that from the start, I never would have been able to corner her. Lu Yuan said nothing, silently marveling at how such a crooked personality could exist in one person. Genuinely alarming. Since Chun Chao's new story actually made sense, quite a few people started speaking up for her. "She didn't mean it, Auntie Zhao. Have mercy on the girl," Da Hu's mother spat viciously in the speaker's direction. "Easy for you to say, when it's not your son who's dead. What kind of person defends this little witch? Are you two sleeping together or something? Annie Zhao, don't you dare slander me." Furious, Da Hu's mother grabbed Chun Chao by the hair and flung her straight onto Da Hu's body. Chun Chao's forehead smacked his chin, and she yelped, bouncing back before crumpling to the ground again.
Banda fasiga.
"Auntie Zhao, what's done is done. Let's focus on solving this." "Solving this? Nothing brings my son back." Wang Da Fa felt a headache building, scratching his head so hard dandruff drifted down. "Then what do you want? Call the police?" "Fine by me. Worst case, I never win Model Village again. But can you afford a police investigation? You think nobody knows about your family's dirty laundry?" Da Hu's mother froze, then looked to her husband for backup. Old Xiao Zhen wiped his nose, utterly lost. "Team leader, what do you think we should do?" "How would I know? You and your wife figure out. Do you want the Li family to pay compensation, or..." Before he even finished, Chun Chao's parents waved their hands frantically. "Call the police. Call the police. We have no money. Just throw this useless girl in jail." Lu Yuan couldn't resist leaning in and whispering to me. "Is this what you wanted?" I smiled. "Just watch. Chun Chao isn't leaving this village." Sure enough, the crowd erupted again in panic. "No, don't call the police." Wang Da Fa, completely drained, looked around at everyone. "One side won't let me call the police, the other won't pay compensation. What exactly do you all want from me?" "I officially cannot manage this situation." Chun Chao's parents exchanged a look, then quietly slipped away from the scene entirely. Wang Da Fa didn't even try to stop them, and was about to leave himself when someone called out, "If they can't pay money, why not pay with a person? A life for a life, just make Chun Chao marry into the Zhao family as Da Hu's widow." Wang Da Fa, Chun Chao, old Zhao Zhen. Everyone turned toward the voice, but nobody could figure out who'd said it. Lu Yuan was honestly impressed by the girl standing next to him. Truly vindictive to the very end. Also, how had she just changed her voice like that? Before he could figure it out, old Xiao Zhen was already nodding eagerly. Yes, yes. Make Chun Chao marry my da Hu. Someone in the crowd chimed in, encouraging the idea. That works. In a couple years, you can adopt a nephew from your cousin's family. Your family line continues either way. The moment Da Hu's mother heard, family line continues. She grabbed Chun Chao's arm. Chun Chao dear, mother knows this is hard on you. But you're the one who watched my son die without helping. This is only fair. Chun Chao looked desperately toward her parents for help, only to watch them walking away faster and faster until they vanished completely. And just like that, the crisis was resolved. Chun Chao got dragged home by old Xiao Zhen and his wife, forced to share a house with Da Hu's actual corpse. The old couple immediately began preparing a wedding feast, planning to marry the two off before the funeral. Villagers heard the news and could only describe the whole thing as insane. But nobody stopped it either. Everyone was too curious to see how this bizarre plan would play out. With crisis number 1 officially defused, I finally let out a breath of relief. Just as I turned to head home, Qiao Zhenjin slapped her forehead, gleefully asking, "Ooh, with all this excitement by the lake, where are Uncle and Auntie? Weird that they're not here." I already knew exactly what was going on with my parents. My timing arriving in this body hadn't been great, since something had clearly already happened to them. But since I couldn't undo whatever already occurred, I figured I'd deal with my own mess first. Oh, right. Runmin got hit by a rock and broke his leg. He's already been rushed to the county hospital. Man, you'd better hurry over there. My bad. I got so distracted watching the drama I forgot to mention it earlier. Chao Jin Wang, the man delivering this news, looked genuinely regretful as he watched me. Tears immediately welled up in my eyes. "Uncle, please, tell me exactly what happened to my dad. And my mom, where's my mom?" The fear and vulnerability on my face absolutely delighted Qiao Zhenjun. Even the lump on her forehead from getting whacked with the door bar seemed to hurt a little less now. "Your dad's leg is broken, bleeding badly. They might have to amputate." Zhenjun delivered that news with way too much glee. Chao Jin Wang jumped in nervously. Right. The quarry already sent him to the hospital. Your mom got so scared she collapsed too. They took her along as well. Man, you need to hurry over there. I put on my best shocked face, tears instantly streaming down. I spotted Grandma Qiao heading home and sprinted after her. "Grandma, my dad's hurt. Please give me 10 yuan so I can go save him." She froze for 2 seconds, then sneered in disgust. What nonsense is this girl spouting? I don't have any money. I grabbed onto her pant leg and refused to let go. "Grandma, remember when Dad got accepted for a real job assignment and you cried and begged, saying the family was struggling, so he gave up his spot for my uncle instead? Even my second uncle's job, Dad's the one who actually passed that exam. Dad graduated technical school right after the founding of the country. Getting a job was easy for him. But you said the family needed more people around, so you forced him to stay working in the village instead. Grandma, Dad's never once talked back to you. Every work point he's earned all these years went straight into the family's shared account. He eats the same watery porridge as everyone, does the heaviest farm labor in the whole village. Even that canal repair job, you made him take my uncle's spot on it. Grandma, he's your own son. Won't you have a little pity for him?" Grandma's face burned with shame, but she stayed stubborn. "I don't have money. You know exactly how this family's finances look. Get lost." Just as she lifted her foot to walk away, I lunged forward and let her foot's momentum knock me down, smearing dirt across my face and hands for effect. Wang Da rushed over, frowning, and helped me up. "Andy Qiao, this girl is so well-behaved. How could you be so rough with her?" Grandma Qiao was baffled. She hadn't even touched the little witch. How did she? Before she could finish that thought, I let Wang Da help me stand and said, "Grandma, if you're still upset, kick me a few more times. Just please say yes to helping my dad." The remaining villagers immediately turned on Grandma Qiao, calling her heartless. A few newly married young wives, unfamiliar with the Qiao family's dirty laundry, got quietly warned by their mothers-in-law to keep their distance from her from now on. Grandma Qiao's face flushed red, then pale, but she dug in her heels anyway, privately thinking, good, let his leg be broken. Then she could finally. Wangda Fa, noticing her stubbornness, couldn't help feeling for me. Such a devoted daughter, being treated so cruelly by this family. And her father, Qiao Runming, was one of the village's few educated men. He could have easily gotten a cushy job as record keeper or warehouse manager, but chose to work the fields with his weak body instead, worried it might cost his brothers their positions. Don't be scared, girl, Wangda Fa said. I'll authorize 30 yuan from the village fund right now. Take it. Go save your father, I nodded gratefully, and watched Grandma Qiao's face change instantly. What exactly are you implying, team leader? Simple, a life comes first, Wangda Fa said firmly. Since your family claims to be short on money, no problem. The village has some spare funds. We'll lend it to Manman now, and deduct it from your family's account at year's end. Grandma Qiao lost it completely, dropping to the ground and wailing, slapping her thighs. How many of us are even working in this family? 30 yuan is how many work points? You're trying to bleed us dry. Wangda Fa didn't budge and told me, go on now, don't worry. If your family's account can't cover it, I'll go straight to the steel factory and ask your uncle Qiao Zhenbang directly whether he cares that his own brother's hurt. Grandma Qiao's wailing stopped instantly. She stared at Wangda Fa in disbelief. Seeing how serious he looked, she scrambled up, dusting herself off. No, wait, I just remembered we do have a little spare cash lying around at home. Let me go get it for Man right now. Wangda Fa raised an eyebrow. Is it enough? 10 yuan. Plenty. Grandma Qiao nodded frantically, terrified he'd insist on the full 30. That would have been a real disaster for the family's finances.
Weng de fame din approval.
All right then. Man, go home with your grandmother and get the money. I nodded. Thank you, team leader. Thank you, Grandma, I sniffled once more, then turned to thank all the aunties and uncles who'd spoken up for me. My gaze landed on Lu Yuan and I paused. Comrade Lu, could I borrow your bicycle? A few families in the village owned bicycles, sure, but those were bought with the whole family's pooled savings usually. For a wedding. Nobody in their right mind would lend one to a nobody girl like me. If it got damaged, there'd be no fixing that disaster. So naturally, I targeted Lu Yuan specifically. 1. I trusted his character. He wouldn't hesitate on something this serious. 2. We just teamed up to take Chun Chao down together, so surely he wouldn't refuse me now. Sure enough, after a 2-second hesitation, he nodded. I'll go grab it now. Meet you at the Qiao family gate in 10 minutes. My eyes lit up slightly. Interesting. Was he planning to come with me to the county town? Actually, that worked out great. More witnesses meant an easier time cutting ties with this awful family. I thanked him enthusiastically. Comrade Lu, you're such a good person. Something about that felt off to him, though he couldn't quite place what. He asked Wangda Fa for leave and headed back to the educated youth dormitory. Lu Yifeng, walking beside him, teased, Bro, you're not usually this helpful. Lu Yuan didn't break stride. Given how unloved that girl clearly is at home, she's probably never had access to a bicycle. That thing costs several hundred yuan if it gets damaged. Lu Yifeng smirked. Since when do you care about 1 or 200 yuan? Lu Yuan took a deep breath and marched off without another word, ears turning slightly red at the tiske sounds trailing behind him. Internally muttering to himself, this is purely intelligence gathering. What if she's some kind of spy? Meanwhile, I followed the stone-faced grandmother home. The moment we were inside the courtyard, away from prying eyes, she snapped, Kneel. With no audience around, I wasn't nearly as easy to push around. I straightened my spine. Grandma, having second thoughts already? I'll just go find the team leader and settle this properly then. Grandma Qiao's temple veins throbbed with fury. She couldn't understand how this normally submissive brat had suddenly grown a razor-sharp tongue. Zhan tugged her sleeve, reminding her of the actual point. Ask her why she attacked me. I put on my best shocked face. Grandma, did Zhen actually complain to you about that? Oh my goodness. How does she even have the nerve? If it were anyone else, they'd be desperately trying to hide this. Why would she want it broadcast to the whole family? And here I was, worried about her reputation, practically. Begging Comrade Liu and Comrade Liu Yifeng to keep quiet about it, I kept it deliberately vague, which sent the whole Qiao family's imaginations running wild in the worst possible direction. Everyone turned to stare at Zhenzhen, her face burning redder by the second, looking like she wanted to dig a hole and disappear into it. Furious and humiliated, she planted her hands on her hips and stomped her foot. Qiao Manman, stop making things up, I pouted at her. Cousin, whether I'm making things up is easy enough to check. We can just go ask Comrade Liu. And honestly, cousin, if you're going to steal something, at least pick a better target. Our branch of the family is broke. What exactly did you think you'd find? I genuinely don't get your logic here. Grandma Qiao clearly hadn't expected there to be more to this story. She turned to Zhenzhen, displeased. Zhenzhen, explain. Now, Zhenzhen hadn't planned on getting caught red-handed by not one, but two guys named Liu. There was no wiggling out of this one. She put on her best wounded expression anyway. Grandma, I didn't do anything. I just noticed third uncle and third aunt's door was unlocked, so I went to check on things. Man just misunderstood. Grandma Qiao, naturally, trusted her favorite grandchild far more than me. She scowled and snapped. You hear that? Your cousin was being thoughtful. Accuse her again, and I'll rip that mouth right off your face. I just smiled. Funny thing is, when we found her, she was elbow deep in a chest, rifling through everything inside. No idea if she actually took anything. So, Grandma, my lips are sealed pretty easily. But what about Comrade Liu? Grandma Qiao's eyes turned dangerous. Why exactly was that Liu boy in our house? I took a deep breath. Oh, purely coincidence. He heard someone scream and thought something bad was happening, so he came to check. Turned out to be nothing major, really. As long as you don't bring it up and I don't bring it up, I'm sure Comrade Liu won't go around gossiping either. That said, I'm in a bit of a bind right now. My father's lying in the county hospital, unsure if he'll live. Meanwhile, his beloved favorite niece. Enough, Grandma Qiao snapped, storming inside and coming back out to fling 3 yuan onto the ground. That's all there is. Take it and get out. I didn't budge. That his beloved favorite niece just happened to take his emergency medical money. I wonder if the steel factory leadership would have anything to say about my uncle's parenting skills if they found out. Having been cornered twice now, Grandma Qiao's nails were practically drawing blood from her own palms. She was just about to call her daughter-in-law over to beat some sense into me when a cheerful bicycle bell rang from the gate. Comrade Qiao Manman. Ready whenever you are. Grandma Qiao's face changed instantly. She had no idea how long Liu Yuan had been standing there, or how much he'd overheard. She rushed back inside and returned with a full 10 yuan bill. This should be enough. I snatched it and tucked it into my pocket, then bent down and scooped up every last scattered coin from the ground too, dusting them off carefully. On behalf of my father, thank you so much. Grandma Qiao stood frozen as she watched me head inside, gather a few spare changes of clothes, grab my parents' toiletries, then jog out to hop onto the back of Liu Yuan's bicycle. The moment we were out of sight, she stormed straight into third uncle's room and searched it herself. Moments later, she emerged looking murderous, hand outstretched toward Zhenzhen. Hand it over. Hand what over? Zhenzhen blinked, confused. The lock pendant. Grandma Qiao's eyes were vicious. Nothing like her usual grandmotherly warmth. Zhenzhen's whole body went rigid. I didn't take anything. Grandma Qiao studied her closely, the shifty eyes, the pale face, the sweat on her forehead, and realized instantly that this girl had actually overheard her conversation with Uncle Four. She lowered her voice, threatening. Zhenzhen, some things aren't meant to be yours. Best not to go poking around where you shouldn't. Zhenzhen knew Grandma wasn't joking. If the old woman found out she'd touched that pendant and then lost it, she'd genuinely be in danger. She forced a stiff smile. Grandma, what are you even talking about? Does third uncle's family actually have some treasure hidden away? Maybe Manman's the one hiding it. Grandma Qiao considered this possible, but unlikely. Even Xiao Runming himself had no idea what that lock pendant truly meant. There's no way some random girl would understand its significance either. Maybe Zhenzhen was just trying to throw her off the trail with some sob story of her own. Grandma Qiao closed her eyes, deciding to keep watching quietly for now. She didn't want to falsely accuse her favorite grandchild and let the real culprit slip away. Meanwhile, I sat on the back of Lu Yuan's bike, wind in my face, legs swinging idly. Jumping bodies apparently takes a lot out of a person. I gripped the hem of his shirt absent-mindedly, and my thoughts started drifting. Here's the thing about me, Qiao Manman, before all this, I was 22. Now I'm 18. Born in the 21st century, college graduate, comfortably well off. People used to call me a talented young woman. Okay, more accurately, a talented waste of potential. I could do calligraphy, chess, painting, music, basically everything, and then just sat at home tinkering with random hobbies instead of using any of it. Never held a real job, never really put myself out there. Parents used me as the classic cautionary tale for other people's kids. I wasn't antisocial, exactly. I just didn't see the point wasting my limited time on people or things that didn't matter. Money wasn't an issue, so I just coasted. And then I woke up one day, and the sky had literally fallen. Turns out I'd been yanked straight into a novel I used to read. A period romance novel, no less. In the story, the female lead, Meng Peiyu, gets engaged to Lu Yuan in her first life, blissfully waiting to follow him into military life. Except during one mission, Lu Yuan gets caught in an accident, and a subordinate dies saving him, leaving behind a widow nobody in his family wants, and a scrawny 3-year-old son. The widow never blamed Lu Yuan, said it was all for the country. But Lu Yuan couldn't forgive himself. He broke off his engagement with Meng Peiyu and married his fallen comrade's widow instead. They lived out a respectful, dutiful life together, no passion, just duty. Meng Peiyu, heartbroken, had no choice but to accept reality. Her love life never recovered. She wasted half her life waiting on nothing. It wasn't until old age, after the widow finally passed away, that she and Lu Yuan reconnected at all, and even then, just quiet tea and conversation, nothing more. Lu Yuan once told her he'd wronged her more than anyone else in his life. He didn't ask for forgiveness, just hoped that in her next life, she'd finally get peace and happiness. Meng Peiyu just smiled and said nothing. On a bright, sunny afternoon, she closed her eyes for the last time. And when she opened them again, she'd been reborn. This time around, she let go of her obsession with Lu Yuan entirely. Instead, she married a different officer, Chen Junyan, a man just as accomplished as Lu Yuan professionally, but who actually adored his wife emotionally, the way Lu Yuan never managed with anyone. In her past life, the mission at Green Mountain had actually been completed by Chen Junyan and his unit. The day he returned, plenty of people came to welcome the soldiers home. Except Chen Junyan showed up with an extra guest, a village girl. Her name? Qiao Manman. Instead of looking down on her rural background, he adored her completely. The two of them lived a genuinely happy life together, the envy of everyone around them. Meng Peiyu used to say to Lu Yuan, "If you'd never taken that mission, would we have ended up as happy as they are?" Lu Yuan would go quiet for a long moment, then shake his head. There's no such thing as what if. Peiyu, let the past stay in the past, but nobody could have predicted Meng Peiyu would get a second life. Facing Lu Yuan again this time around, she realized she just didn't love him anymore. Fair enough, honestly. After wasting that much of her life on him, who'd have any romantic energy left? Why risk repeating the same mistake? So this time, Meng Peiyu set her sights on Chen Junyan instead, someone equally impressive, and successfully married him. Nothing wrong with that, in theory. Except she was terrified that the real Qiao Manman might show up eventually and ruin the happiness she'd worked so hard to steal. So she took matters into her own hands. She arranged for Lu Yuan to get assigned to Green Mountain Village specifically. And she wrote letters to Li Chunchao and Qiao Zhenzhen, asking them to handle the problem before it could ever become one. So basically, if I'd never crossed over into this body, the original Man would have suffered exactly as planned, and there'd have been zero chance of her ever meeting Chen Junyan. But I'm here now, and I refuse to let that tragedy happen. If I get the chance, I'm avenging her. The bike will hit a rock, jolting me hard enough that I instinctively wrapped my arms around Lu Yuan's waist. Snapping back to reality, I let go fast. Sorry, I zoned out for a second. His ears turned bright red, his body went rigid, and his voice came out hoarse. It's fine. My head felt heavy, so I didn't even notice his reaction, too busy spiraling in my own thoughts. Then, out of nowhere, he asked, "So, how exactly did your clothes dry in a few minutes? And your hair too?" I blinked up at him, taking a second to process the question.
Oh, that?
Just a little magic trick. He clearly didn't buy it, but he also understood something important. The weirder a thing sounds, the less likely someone's willing to just explain it outright. Trying to pry answers out of me was basically pointless. Meanwhile, my body was starting to feel off like the early stages of a cold. I dug into my system inventory and popped a fever pill into my mouth. I braced myself for something the size of a fingernail to be hard to swallow. Instead, it just melted instantly. No bitterness at all, just a faint lingering sweetness after. "Comrade Qiao Manman, are you alright?" Lu Yuan noticed I wasn't quite myself and pulled the bike over, turning to look at me. I shook my head. Might have caught a chill. Head's a little foggy. He stared at me intently.
So,
"How did you know my identity, me?" He kept staring, waiting. I stayed calm, not panicked, not defensive. Once the medicine kicked in and my head cleared up a bit, I just smiled. "You can trust me. My background is completely clean." He obviously didn't believe that, but I wasn't in the mood to explain further, so I just said, "Long Mountain."
Ti Shui Bai, Yuvanda.
"If you trust me at all, go check it out yourself." His eyes narrowed dangerously. Seeing that I didn't flinch or look away at all, he just made a small, sound, turned back around and kept pedaling, faster than before, clearly making up for lost time. I watched his broad back as we rode, genuinely unsure how to categorize this man. Rigid? Well, look how flexible he actually was handling the whole Hu and Chun Chao mess. Flexible? Except he married his dead comrade's widow purely out of guilt, which got his actual fiancée publicly mocked for years, depressed into old age. So depressed that even after being reincarnated, she wanted absolutely nothing to do with him again. I sighed and asked my system quietly, "You there? Right here, host." I glanced at my wrist, completely bare. But I clearly remembered putting that bracelet on. "Where's my bracelet? Did you steal it?" I asked, calm, no accusation in my tone. The system sounded relieved. "Host, the bracelet merged with your system space. So I'm getting a massive storage upgrade now." I got a little excited, closing my eyes to search for this supposed expanded space, but couldn't find anything different. The system admitted a little sheepishly, "The bracelet is a container. It can merge with various space fragments, but only if you actually have space fragments to merge." Disappointed, I sighed. "So, I'm still stuck with just 1 cubic meter of storage." "Yep. But since you have the bracelet now, once you take items out, the space doesn't shrink back down. Complete missions, and the space keeps growing. You'll also unlock special space fragments and rare items through future check-ins." Reasonably satisfied with that answer, I nodded. "What missions do I need to complete?" "Survive and steal the female lead's luck and fortune." I paused. "So you're saying the female lead and I are destined enemies? Even if I deliberately avoid the plot entirely, there's no escaping a showdown between us." "Yes, host. Your choices will affect the hosts." The count. Static filled my head, making me dizzy. After a long moment, the system finally came back online. "Sorry, host, your current clearance level is too low. Some things are simply not meant to be revealed yet." I didn't push it and asked instead, "How many check-ins do I get per day? And if I miss one, do I lose the chance?" "Currently 1 per day. Missed check-ins accumulate and can be redeemed for special dimensional items later." Relieved, I did my first check-in since crossing over. "Congratulations, host. You've received 1 cubic meter of supplies and a fertility pill." Me. Why do I keep getting fertility pills? Does your dimensional system have a birth quota too or something? Host, you're so funny. If the system had a physical body, it would probably be curling its toes in secondhand embarrassment right now. I smirked and closed my eyes to check my inventory. 2 full cubic meters, packed to the brim, contents a bit chaotic. From what I could see poking out, 2 bags of rice, a bag of flour, various oils and seasonings, a stack of toilet paper, 12 packs of sanitary pads, 2 vacuum-packed roasted chickens, a Manhwa ham, 10 mooncakes, plus a mix of fruit, apples, pears, grapes, kiwis, pomegranates, squeezed into every remaining gap. Honestly, those 2 cubic meters basically solved my family's entire food shortage crisis in one shot. Relief washed over me. Now I just needed to get to the hospital and cover Qiao Manman's admission fees. Not sure if old Qiao would somehow notice his daughter had a completely different soul inside her now. And if he pointed it out in front of Lu Yuan, would the guy suddenly decide I was some kind of heretic and drag me off for questioning? I actually shivered a little at that thought. Slightly panicked, honestly. But hey, cross that bridge when I get there. I'd wing it. With Lu Yuan's help, we made it to the county hospital fast. Qiao Manman had only been in the emergency room for about 15 minutes by the time we arrived. I didn't even stop to greet Lu Yuan, just bolted straight inside. Didn't even need to ask directions. The crowd outside made it obvious where to go. Plus, 2 familiar faces were waiting right by the door. Uncle Do Wei, Uncle Yuan Feng. How's my dad? And where's my mom? Zhao Do Wei and Qi Yuan Feng jumped up the second they saw me. Your dad's not doing great. The doctor says he might have to amputate. I refused to believe my father's luck was actually this bad and rushed straight toward the emergency room. A nurse blocked me. You can't go in, Dr. Qin is examining his leg right now. Nurse, please, my dad cannot lose his leg. Please do everything you can to save both his legs. Whether it was the original Manman's emotions bleeding through or just genuine panic, I burst into tears on the spot, choking out the plea. The nurse sighed. We'll do our best to save his legs. It's just. Lu Yuan walked in right then, cutting off whatever the nurse was hesitating to say. If Dr. Qin insists on amputation, we'd like to transfer him to the city hospital for a second opinion. You understand, these villagers survive on physical labor in the fields. Losing a leg is basically the same as losing his life. Even a limp would be better than amputation. Please do whatever you can to find another way. Hospital rooms in the 70s had basically zero soundproofing, so Dr. Qin heard every word Lu Yuan said outside, loud and clear. After a quick patch-up on my dad's leg, Dr. Qin pulled off his mask and came out. Relax, I'm not amputating. The county hospital doesn't have the equipment for it anyway, and honestly, neither do I. Relief flooded through me, followed instantly by fresh dread. Doctor, so that means? Get him to the city hospital, fast. If you can make it there before the end of the workday, there's a real chance we can save his leg. Dr. Qin peeled off his gloves as he talked. I heard there's a specialist visiting the city hospital right now, apparently a real expert in fixing broken bones. My eyes lit up. Really? Do you know the specialist's name? Or better yet, could you come with us? My dad's leg is seriously injured, and if something shifts wrong on the bumpy road over there, we could be in real trouble. Don't worry, doctor. I promise this trip won't be for nothing, Dr. Qin didn't mind the idea of coming along, honestly. His real worry was other patients needing him while he was gone. That would be a genuine tragedy. He explained his concern, and I nodded, understanding completely. Didn't push it. I quickly checked on my mother. Ho Nian just fainted from shock. Nothing serious, then went outside to find a vehicle. When I'd first walked into the hospital, the clock on the wall read 3:15. With all the delays since, it was probably closer to 3:40 now. The city hospital was about 40+ kilometers away. An ox cart had zero chance of making it before dark. For my father's sake, I decided to gamble big. I hopped on the bike and rode straight for the transport team's depot, Lu Yuan chasing after me the whole way. The depot was only a couple thousand meters from the hospital. I parked the bike, marched up to the gate looking appropriately tragic, tears and all. Uncle, is your team leader in? I need to speak with him urgently. The gatekeeper blinked, confused. What business do you have with our leader, girl? Uncle, please, could you fetch him for me? This is genuinely urgent. I promise, I really can't wait. He hesitated, so I started dropping to my knees, right there on the ground. These days, appearances mattered a lot, and a crying girl kneeling outside their gate would definitely reflect badly on the whole transport team. Even the gatekeeper himself would probably catch flack for it. Panic-stricken, he shot both hands out. No, no, don't. Stay right there, I'll go get him now. And he took off running. I rubbed my already red eyes, composed myself, and watched the gatekeeper come jogging back with the boss, some official-looking guy in a proper four-pocket uniform. I ran straight up to him. No hesitation. Sir, my father's leg is badly hurt, and he needs to get to the city hospital immediately. Could I possibly borrow a truck from you? The transport team leader had clearly never dealt with a request like this before and instinctively refused. These are state vehicles. We can't just lend them out for personal use. I wiped my tears. But sir, we're all citizens of New China. Our party, our nation, fought and bled to build this new country precisely so every citizen could live comfortably, with full stomachs and warm clothes. Your transport team operates under the party's leadership, upholding that exact mission every single day, and so do the workers of our village. My father hurt his leg doing repair work on the canal. That's a workplace injury, a heroic sacrifice for the collective good. Lending us a vehicle isn't misusing public resources at all. It's the transport team leadership demonstrating true courage, helping those in need, standing in solidarity with rural workers. This is exactly the kind of example that deserves to be praised and celebrated by everyone. Don't worry, sir, I'll cover every expense for this trip myself. And I'll write up your team's spirit of unity as a proper news story and send it to the newspaper so everyone can learn from your example. The team leader's eyes lit up more and more as she spoke. He immediately changed his tune. Well, I clearly misjudged the situation. Helping our fellow villagers is exactly what our transport team should be doing. Come on, I'll drive you to the county myself. Lu Yuan hadn't expected me to secure a vehicle that effortlessly. Surprised and honestly a little impressed. He'd actually been planning to blow his cover and borrow a vehicle from the Armed Forces Department himself. This solution worked out much better. The transport leader, surnamed Zhou, given name Guoping, was back in under 5 minutes, driving a truck out himself. Not huge, but solidly built. You could hear that engine roaring from a distance. Zhou pulled the truck up right in front of me and was about to hop down to open the door for me when I casually shoved my bicycle straight into Lu Yuan's arms instead. Comrade Lu, thank you so much for getting me here. Now, moving forward, before I could even finish, Lu Yuan wheeled the bike straight into the depot's courtyard, telling the gatekeeper, "Would you mind keeping an eye on this? I'll come back for it later." Then he strode over to the truck and held his hand out. "Let's go. I'll come with you. Better to have someone else there just in case." I didn't put up a fight, grabbing his sleeve and climbing into the passenger seat. "You sure you're fine skipping tonight?" He gave a light laugh. "Don't worry, I already had Louis foam cover for me." I just hummed in response and stared out the window, feeling calmer than I'd expected. Maybe having my former male lead, riding shotgun, gave me some unexpected courage for whatever came next. The truck pulled up outside the county hospital quickly, and the engine noise brought several doctors and nurses rushing outside to check. Seeing that I'd actually pulled off getting a real vehicle, they scrambled to bring a stretcher out. They carefully loaded my wincing, pain-stricken father and my still unconscious mother into the truck bed. Dr. Qin even personally lent us 2 spare hospital blankets. I thanked him sincerely, and he just waved it off. "Go on, hurry, before that specialist leaves for the day." I nodded, glancing over at Zhao Wei and Qi Yuanfang. They shifted awkwardly, rubbing their hands together. Man, since your friend's here with you, we'll head back now." Old Qi and I wouldn't know what to do there anyway, probably just get in the way. I didn't push them either, thanked them, and pulled out some cash. "Uncled away, whatever you paid out of pocket, let me pay you back right now." Don't worry about that. Your dad got hurt doing quarry work for the village. The team bears some responsibility here. I'll just file the bill for reimbursement later." I nodded, and with Lu Yuan's help, climbed up into the truck bed. Once we were both settled, Zhou shouted something and started the engine. The empty truck rumbled off quickly, everyone watching us go. It was early May, temperatures climbing back up so the ride wasn't too cold. Just bumpy, the dust kicked up made me a little queasy. I glanced over at my father and felt a genuine wave of gratitude toward Dr. Qin. Not only had he bandaged the wound properly, he tucked a blanket over it too, protecting against infection. Jostled by every bump in the road, my father still managed a small smile. Man, Dad's fine. Don't worry. That was actually the first time I'd really heard my father's voice. Gentle.
Soft.
Nothing at all like Grandma Qiao's sharp, bitter tone. I forced a smile back.
I know, Dad.
Everything's going to be okay. He gave a barely audible hum, then turned to look at Lu Yuan instead. A young man with clean, striking features, spine straight, even sitting down, looking every bit like some elegant noble stepped straight out of a classical painting. But Qiao Runming was clearly wondering, why exactly was this educated youth traveling with his daughter? The two of them barely knew each other around the village, yet here they were, acting oddly familiar. Runming didn't say anything out loud, but Lu Yuan read the question in his eyes anyway. He smiled easily. We happened to run into each other by the lake. Qiao Manman couldn't possibly manage this alone, so I offered to help out. Inside, though, he was thinking. Yet another mystery about this girl. She'd grown up isolated in the countryside, unloved by her family. So how exactly did she ride a men's crossbar bicycle that smoothly? I chimed in helpfully. Comrade Lu was kind enough to bike me over. That's the only reason we made it to the county hospital so fast. Runming nodded, though a flicker of worry crossed his eyes. Even with the best intentions, some of the village's older gossips loved jumping to conclusions. Who knew what stories they'd cook up about his daughter by the time they got home? Just then, the truck hit a bump, and Lu Yuan's hand shot out instantly, steadying my father's uninjured leg before it could jostle painfully. Runming thanked him, and Lu Yuan just settled back down like it was nothing. Runming sighed inwardly. No point overthinking this. When he got back, he made sure to clear Lu Yuan's name properly. No way was he letting some careless village gossip force the poor guy into marrying his daughter out of obligation. Not that he thought poorly of Man. He genuinely liked her. But there was an undeniable gap between a village girl and an educated city youth. Some circles just weren't meant to be forced together. You'd only end up bruised, or worse. That was a lesson he'd learned well enough living under Grandma Qiao's roof. Zhou Guoping, worried about missing the deadline for his newspaper feature, drove like the wind. Before I knew it, we'd already pulled up outside the city hospital, right as a specialist named Li Minghua was walking out after finishing a surgery. I hopped down immediately, tears welling up again. Dr. Li, hello. I'm from Green Mountain Production Team, facing the Sun Commune. My father's leg got crushed by a rock doing canal repair work this morning. The county hospital couldn't help him. Could you please take a look? Dr.
Li eyed me suspiciously.
How did you even know I was here? I decided honesty was the best play here. Dr. Chin at the county hospital recommended you specifically, said you're highly skilled in reconnecting broken bones. Dr.
Li Shuklat.
Him? Old classmate of mine. All right, since he sent you, I'll take a look. Though, my train ticket. I'll get it rebooked for you. Lu Yuan cut in smoothly, taking the ticket from him. Should I move it to tomorrow or the day after? Dr. Li recognized the face instantly and startled, clearly about to say something, before catching himself and remembering exactly who this young man was. He buried his surprise and just nodded. Day after, then. Lu Yuan hummed and strode off immediately. Dr. Li had staff carry my father and mother into the hospital, one to surgery, one to a regular room, then called someone in the capital to explain the situation before heading off to scrub-in. Once in the operating room, he unwrapped the bandages on my father's leg, examined it, and shook his head. This is bad. Safest option is amputation. Since you came all this way, I assume that's off the table for you. I could reset the bone myself, but the muscle tissue's badly damaged, and the bone itself is basically shattered. Even in the best case, he'll end up with uneven leg length. And if infection sets in, that could cost him his life entirely. You need to decide. He stepped out and delivered the news to me directly. I answered without hesitation.
Dr.
Li, my father's stubborn. Without his leg, he won't have much reason to keep living anyway. Dr. Li nodded, understanding completely. He'd treated plenty of soldiers over the years. Men who lost limbs and lost their will to live right along with them, sometimes wishing for death just to be reborn back onto the battlefield. As a doctor with his own complicated family history, he genuinely empathized with patients like this. Back inside, before he could even ask, my father had already made the exact same choice on his own. Life's meaningless anyway. If I lose my leg, might as well just die. Dr. Lee nodded and got to work resetting the bone, hands moving carefully, methodically, over the wound. Outside, a nurse called me over to handle admission paperwork. Comrade Qiao, may I see your referral letter, please? I froze for a second. Right, this was the 70s. Everything required official paperwork here. Nurse, I'm so sorry. Everything happened so fast. I completely forgot to get one. Could we start my father's paperwork now, and I'll bring proper documentation from the village later? The young nurse hesitated. Technically, treatment required a referral letter, but she'd seen the leg herself. Genuinely severe. Clearly a rushed emergency. Forgetting the paperwork was understandable in that light. Just as she was about to check with her supervisor, Zhou Guoping stepped forward, pulling out his own ID. Comrade, I'm the team leader of Yang County's Transport Division. I'll personally vouch for this family. Is that acceptable? Of course. The nurse checked his credentials and handed them back, then took down my father's name and age, filled out the forms, and told me to pay. Surgery fee is 80 yuan. Hospital stay is 2 yuan a day. Pay 100 up front. We'll settle the difference on discharge. I agreed, then hit an actual wall walking up to the payment window. Comrade, could I pay just 10 yuan for now? My fiancé went to the train station. He'll be back soon with the rest. The clerk's expression soured instantly. What do you mean, pay later? What if you just run off? I wouldn't do that, comrade. My parents are both right here in this hospital. Where exactly would I run to? I promise. All my money's with my fiancé. He'll pay the balance the second he's back. The clerk wasn't buying it at all. She stepped out from behind the window and looked me up and down, skinny frame, dull, worn-out clothes, and that only confirmed her suspicions further. I've seen plenty of people like you. Dump your sick parents at the hospital, bank on us not letting them die, and try to milk the state for free treatment. Don't even bother with the fiancé story. Like some poor farm girl's actually landing herself a man with money. I held it together for a few long seconds, then couldn't stay quiet anymore. I frowned hard. Comrade, there's no need to talk like that. Everyone hits a rough patch sometimes. A little understanding goes a long way, doesn't it? If I actually planned on scamming the state, I wouldn't even bother handing over these 10 yuan right now. And exactly like you said, since Dr. Lee's already operating on my father, I could easily just slip away while nobody's watching, and you'd never find me again. Yes, I'm from the countryside. That doesn't mean I don't have honesty or decency. I really am short on cash right now, but I'd never dare bring my family to a real hospital without some way to cover it. The gathered crowd started nodding along, agreeing I had a fair point. Even Zhou Guoping, after a moment of internal debate, pulled out his own work ID and offered it as collateral at the payment window. Comrade, please have a heart. I trust she won't skip out on this bill. The clerk's expression soured further, but she couldn't reasonably push back any harder. She nodded stiffly. Get the rest to us as soon as possible. Otherwise your father won't get his medication. I took a deep breath. All right, understood. I turned to Zhou Guoping. Uncle Zhou, thank you so much. He looked a little embarrassed. I left in such a rush. I didn't even bring my own money with me otherwise. It's fine, Uncle Zhou. I have relatives here in the city. I'll go borrow money from them. It's getting late. Let me walk you to the guest house to rest first. He waved me off. No need. I'll just stay at my brother's place tonight. His name's Zhou Guara, and if you ever need anything, you can find him at the city police station. I nodded, walked him to the door, and when he seemed like he wanted to say something else, I spoke first. Thank you again for everything, Uncle Zhou. I'll make sure everyone hears about your good deed today. That satisfied him completely. He shook his head, pleased. No need for all that. I'm a party member. This is just what I'm supposed to do. I smiled to myself, thinking, people in this era really do care about honor and reputation.
Huh.
Genuinely a spirited generation. I watched him walk off, then left the hospital and asked around about the nearby staff housing compound. Time to go make some money. And how exactly? Selling things, obviously. Was there any faster way to make cash back then than good old trading? I made my way briskly to the glass factory's residential compound and spotted two aunties chatting under a big scholar tree. Both looked friendly enough, dressed in fairly new clothes. I got an idea. I walked over, brushed the dust off a nearby stone, and sat right down. Pulled a big peach out of my pocket, wiped it dramatically on my clothes, and started eating it with exaggerated enthusiasm, smacking my lips loudly, making a whole production of it. So sweet, I said out loud, and that got both aunties' attention instantly, practically drooling. Girl, what are you eating there? Just a peach. My uncle brought it back from down south. It's amazing. I held the peach out a little, letting them get a good look at the juice dripping down and catch the sweet smell. There's a few more at home, but Mom says we need to save them to trade for things. Ugh. I pulled the peach back and sighed deeply. Honestly, I've never had a peach this good in my life. How could my mom bear to trade something like this away? Another loud crunch, and the woman next to her, Fu Xianling, looked like she was about to lose her mind with jealousy. Fu Xianling scooted closer, lowering her voice. Girl, is your family in trouble? Doesn't look like your situation would call for trading peaches away. Oh, now that was my cue. I launched into it, sounding thoroughly annoyed. So a while back, my mom arranged a match for my brother. The bride price was supposed to be 66 yuan, all agreed on. Then the girl's family backed out last minute, saying raising a daughter is hard work, so they wanted 100 yuan instead, plus the 3 rounds and a ring. You know, bicycle, watch, sewing machine, radio. I mean, who spends hundreds of yuan on a wife these days? Might as well just call it buying one. But my brother's hopeless, completely set on this girl, refuses to call off the engagement no matter what. My mom couldn't talk him out of it, and we don't have that kind of cash lying around, so she stuck trading things away instead. I caught myself before saying money and swapped it smoothly for wedding supplies, with a smile. Fu Xianling nodded knowingly, patting my arm. Poor parents, doing whatever it takes for their kids. Your mom's got it rough. I nodded frantically, still working on the peach. Within seconds, nothing left but the pit. I couldn't bear to toss it, so I tucked it in my pocket instead. Catching Fu Xianling watching me, I gave a bashful smile. I keep thinking, if this peach is so good, wouldn't it be nice if we could grow our own? As I made to leave, Fu Xianling grabbed my hand. Girl, come on, come sit at my place for a bit? I hesitated but kept walking anyway. A few steps in, I glanced back nervously at the other woman, and Fu Xianling reassured me. That's just my sister, don't worry. I hummed an acknowledgement, and a couple minutes later, we arrived, a cozy little 60-square-meter courtyard home. Once on her own turf, Fu Xianling dropped all pretense of caution. She grabbed a stool from the corner for me and got straight to the point. Girl, honestly, I've never seen peaches that gorgeous. Your mom's trading things for cash anyway, right? How about you sell that peach to me? I'll give you 30 cents for it. I hesitated dramatically. Auntie, that's actually a new variety. Regular egg-sized peaches at the supply co-op already go for 50 cents a pound, and mine weighs almost a pound by itself. Fu Xianling laughed awkwardly. Fair point, I didn't think of that. How about 50 cents each then? I nodded. I've only got 2 left. If you want them, I'll have to go home and get them. But honestly, a yuan or 2 won't solve our family's problems anyway. We've also got some premium white rice at home, snow white grains. Interested? I pulled out a small handful of rice from my pocket, perfectly white, uniform grains. Fu Xianling's eyes darkened with interest instantly. She realized right then all that talk about the wedding drama had just been an excuse. My real goal was selling goods, and I'd been quietly sizing her up as a potential buyer this whole time. No point dancing around it any further. She smiled. Yes, I'm interested. How much do you have and what's your price? I got straight to business too. Auntie, my rice is the same quality as that peach, guaranteed. 60 cents a pound, no ration tickets needed. I've also got clear soybean oil, 150 a pound, minimum 10 pounds. Fu Xianling thought it over and nodded.
Deal.
I'll take 20 pounds of rice, 10 pounds of oil. What time can you deliver? Once everyone gets off work later, it'll get harder to do this quietly. I shrugged it off. I'm practically your niece. What's wrong with bringing a little something over to my own auntie? Don't worry, I'll come by once it's quiet. Oh, and auntie, could you take more rice off my hands? I've actually got 100 pounds at home. Honestly, I'm tired of hunting down buyers one by one. This whole performance is exhausting. If you take it all, I'll do 55 cents a pound. You flip it and that's 4 yuan profit for you right there. Plus, this rice is genuinely good, cooks up soft and fragrant, great for gifting too, makes you look good. Fu Xianling was tempted. She ran the numbers in her head, thought about the other women in the compound who were always complaining about not being able to get quality grain, and nodded. All right, I'll take the whole 100 pounds, I smiled. Thank you, auntie. I'll head back now. I'll come by once it's fully dark. Oh, and auntie, do you have your own oil jugs and rice sacks? Have my family pack it straight into those. Save us the hassle of transferring everything twice. And it'll be less suspicious too. Fu Xianling was impressed by how thorough this girl was, and happily went to the kitchen to grab an oil container and rice sacks. Good grief, that sack was big enough to fit me inside it. And the white oil jug was thick and heavy, clearly substantial. She handed over 2 5-pound oil jugs, and I carried one in each hand as I left. The second I turned the corner, I stashed them straight into my storage space. By the time all this business was done, the sky had gone dark. My stomach was churning with hunger, but I kept my expression calm as I left the compound, found a quiet corner, and crouched down out of sight. Hey, system, can you at least whip me up some food? Doesn't need to be fancy, just some porridge. The system shut that down instantly. Sorry, host, I don't have functions that advanced. Fine, can I climb inside the storage space myself and mess around in there? Sorry, host, both space fragments you've unlocked are time-locked type. Storage only. No living beings allowed inside. Disappointed, but not about to argue, I pulled out a mooncake and tore into it hungrily. Sweet, fragrant, and completely impossible to swallow without water. It got so dry in my throat, I actually teared up eating it. Even though I'd mostly handled crisis number 2 by this point, I still felt genuinely wronged. I mean, seriously, I never hurt anyone, never did anything wrong in my whole life. And suddenly I get yanked into someone else's disaster of a body? What did I ever do besides sit at home being a harmless waste of potential? Who did that hurt? I finished the mooncake, wiped my eyes, and forced myself back up, stubborn as ever. Under the moonlight, I transferred the rice from my storage into the sacks Fu Xianling had given me. Worried it wouldn't look like enough, I opened a second bag and poured some in to bulk it up. Same deal with the soybean oil. Filled one 10-liter jug completely, then cracked open another to top off both 5-pound containers, leaving just a sliver of space before packing everything back into my storage. Spotted a couple of flat, sharp-edged rocks on the roadside and grabbed those too, just in case anyone got any ideas. No clue what time it actually was, just knew it was properly dark now, streets empty. Distant apartment windows glowed with dim, yellow light. I hustled over to Fu Xianling's place. Just as I set the goods down and raised my hand to knock, a loud argument erupted inside. My stomach dropped. I figured maybe her husband or mother-in-law was upset about the money she'd spent. I pressed my ear to the door and caught snippets. Child, hospital, can't lay eggs, whatever that meant. I genuinely hesitated over whether to knock at all now. Once the shouting died down, I finally knocked, quiet but enough to startle whoever was inside. After some scrambling, Fu Xianling's hand landed on the door latch, and she asked, voice thick and nasal, "Who is it?" "It's me, Annie." I glanced around theatrically, making sure nobody was watching. "I brought your stuff." Recognizing my voice, she yanked the door open, spotted the actual sacks of grain, and immediately called her husband to help carry everything in. Once the door was safely bolted again, she let out a breath of relief. She checked everything over, satisfied, then went inside to grab the payment. Meanwhile, I overheard her mother-in-law telling her husband, "Wow, this rice is really something we should bring a couple pounds over for your younger brother's wife to try." Something about that comment struck me as odd, but I stayed tucked quietly in the corner, playing dumb. A couple minutes later, Fu Xianling came back out and handed me a stack of bills. I counted, 71 yuan exactly. Still not enough. I owed the hospital 90 yuan, and even dumping every bill I had into that hole wouldn't fill it. Time for a new plan, something that made money faster. Then I remembered the system kept handing me those fertility pills. An idea sparked. I pulled Fu Xianling aside, out to a quiet spot by the wall, putting on my shyest, most hesitant tone. Auntie, I couldn't help overhearing something about a hospital and a child just now. Is one of the kids sick? Her expression tensed instantly, and she waved it off with a stiff smile. No, nothing like that. Oh, good, I said, relieved, patting my chest. Because honestly, if it was, there wouldn't be much I could do to help. Then, apropos of absolutely nothing, I added, so I've got a relative married over 10 years, never once got pregnant. Her husband kept calling her a hen that can't lay eggs. Eventually, her family dragged him to the hospital to get checked, and guess what? Turned out he was the one who couldn't have kids. Fu Xianling gasped, hand flying to her mouth. Wait, really? The ability to have children depends on the man too. Of course it does. It takes 2 people to make a baby. Why does the blame always land on the woman? She nodded thoughtfully, clearly processing this. I kept going. Anyway, my relative's story had a happy ending eventually. Spent years searching for remedies, and finally found some kind of special treatment. Took it just once, and boom, pregnant. Twins, even a boy and a girl. Now she's got both, and her in-laws treat her like their most precious treasure. Fu Xianling just stood there, stunned silent. I waved it off casually. Anyway, why am I even telling you all this? Rambling on like a chatterbox. I should head off. Annie, I'll come visit again sometime. Just as I turned to leave, she grabbed my arm. Internally, I cheered. Got her. Outwardly, I played innocent. Auntie? What's wrong? She stared at me, eyes dark and intense. What you just said, is any of that actually true? My whole body tensed with excitement, though I quickly checked with the system. Hey, this fertility pill actually works, right? Don't worry, host. As long as both partners aren't missing any essential parts, there's a 99% chance of conceiving twins. Satisfied, I nodded confidently. Absolutely true. Though that particular remedy is extremely expensive, most people wouldn't dare try it. How expensive? 100 yuan per dose. Both husband and wife need to take it together. What if you're lying to me? I can take a deposit first and collect the rest once you're confirmed pregnant 6 months along. So, you actually heard everything through that door just now. She studied me carefully, clearly weighing whether I was telling the truth. I admitted it plainly.
Yes.
If you think I'm scamming you, just forget I said anything. Though, given how your mother-in-law's already acting, do you really think you have room to back out of this? Fu Xianling closed her eyes, gritting her teeth like she was steeling herself for something big.
Fine.
I'll buy it. Meet me under the old scholar tree in 3 days. I smiled and reassured her a bit further. Think about it, Auntie. Whoever's behind me managed to get their hands on rice this good. That's clearly not some ordinary household. Of course they'd have access to something like a fertility remedy too. Makes perfect sense, right? That comment hit her like a lightning bolt of clarity, and most of the doubt clouding her mind visibly cleared. She nodded firmly. I believe you. Annie trusts you. I waved goodbye and skipped off happily. By the time I made it back to the hospital and handed over my 70 yuan at the payment window, the clerk said, very solemnly, Comrade Qiao, I'm truly sorry about earlier. That was small-minded of me. Your fiancé already settled the rest of the hospital bill in full. Me. Lu Yuan was back, and he'd paid off my hospital bill? Paying it wasn't the issue. I'd pay him back, easy. The real problem was that fiancé thing had been a complete lie I made up on the spot just to sound convincing. Was he going to think I was trying to trap him into marriage now?
Well,
nothing to do about it now except swallow my pride and go along with it. Once we got back to the village, who'd ever know the difference anyway? I smiled and waved it off casually. Oh, it's fine, it's fine. You were just looking out for the hospital. Totally understandable. So, where's my fiancé? In the patient room. The second I said that out loud, the payment clerk started wiggling her eyebrows at me suggestively. A bad feeling settled in my stomach. I turned around, stiff as a board, and there was Lu Yuan, standing just 2 meters away, face dark as a thundercloud. Right beside him, Dr. Lee was watching this whole exchange with obvious delight, like his expression was saying, "Oh, so not your fiancé, huh? Then why isn't she denying it?" My face burned hot, but hey, I'm a 21st century professional slacker. If I don't feel embarrassed, the embarrassment's on everyone else. I flashed a stiff smile and waved at both of them. "Oh, hey. Evening, Dr. Lee." Dr. Lee fought back a laugh and nodded. Evening indeed. Relieved Lu Yuan wasn't calling me out on the spot, I hurried over, dropped the smile, and put on my most worried expression. Dr. Lee, was my father's surgery a success? Very successful. With proper care afterward, it shouldn't affect his walking. I let out a breath, then turned to Lu Yuan. "And my mother, has she woken up yet?" He shook his head. "Not yet." I hummed and pulled a wad of cash from my pocket. "Comrade Lu, thank you so much for covering my parents' hospital bill. Here's 70 yuan. Take it now, and I'll pay back the rest once we're back at the production team." His brow furrowed deeply. He glanced around at the crowd, some curious, some clearly jealous, took the money, and stuffed it in his pocket with a barely audible grunt. Dr. Lee shot him a look. "Making your future father-in-law pay you back for his own hospital bill? That's a bit stingy, don't you think?" Lu Yuan didn't bother explaining, just took the accusation on the chin. I smiled and asked, "Dr. Lee, you haven't eaten yet, have you? Comrade Lu, do you have any ration coupons?" I'd love to treat Dr. Lee to a proper meal. Before Lu Yuan could respond, Dr. Lee waved it off. No need, no need. I'll just grab something simple back at the guest house. I couldn't let that slide. You've worked so hard today. You deserve a good meal. Unfortunately, I can't leave right now, so I'll have to ask Comrade Lu to take care of you instead. Hope you don't mind. Then, turning to Lu Yuan, pick somewhere nice. I'll reimburse you once we're back at the village. Lu Yuan thought bitterly to himself. You're quite the generous spender all of a sudden. If he hadn't personally investigated the Qiao family's finances, he genuinely believed Qiao Runming was secretly wealthy. Wait, hold on. Wasn't the third branch, supposedly the poorest, most miserable branch of the whole family? So how exactly had this girl scrounged up this much cash in just a few hours? Unless... Genuinely a mystery wrapped in secrets. This one. Let's go, Dr. Lee, Lu Yuan said, gesturing. Dr. Lee left with a laugh, but not before elbowing him once they were outside. You know, being this cold to a sweet girl like her, careful she doesn't dump you. Qiao Manman is not my fiancé, Lu Yuan muttered under his breath. That earned him a swift kick from Dr. Lee. Don't you dare pull any nonsense, boy. The girl herself said you two are together. You trying to weasel out of it now? You mess this up, I'll personally have old man Lu come deal with you. Lu Yuan had a sinking feeling this was exactly how it'd go. Thoroughly annoyed, he marched to the state-run restaurant, teeth gritted, only to find the kitchen already closed for the night. He pulled out cash and coupons, tried sweet-talking the staff into asking the chef for a simple bowl of plain noodle soup. The waitress just rolled her eyes at him and shooed them both out the door. Dr. Lee had never seen this composed young man look so flustered and doubled over laughing on the spot. All right, let's just head to the guest house. I've got some crackers there. Reluctantly, Lu Yuan walked him back. Looking at the meager pile of broken crackers, he didn't even eat any himself, just boiled a pot of hot water for Dr. Lee before getting sent right back to the hospital. Meanwhile, back at the ward, I watched the two men leave, then hurried inside. Seeing my parents both sleeping peacefully, I let out a relieved breath and quietly settled myself down between the two beds. On the little table between the beds sat my ragged old bundle, the spare clothes I'd packed earlier. After sitting there a few minutes, I got up, took the worn clothes out of the bundle, put them in the cabinet instead, then pulled some rice out of my storage space and packed it into the now empty cloth bundle. After a moment's hesitation, I added one of the roasted chickens too, and the second I tore open the vacuum seal, meaty aroma flooded the entire room. Startled, I quickly buried the chicken under the rice to muffle the smell, tied the bundle shut, and rushed it over to the hospital cafeteria, giving myself a stern pep talk the whole way there. It's fine, this is pre-washed rice, totally clean. As for the ragged cloth bundle itself, what could I do? My first system check-in hadn't given me a suitcase or a thermos, just some old scrap fabric to use as packaging. At least my parents kept things tidy, so the cloth looked reasonably clean, and their clothes were all properly washed and dried. Lost in my own anxious thoughts, I made it to the cafeteria. Past dinner hours, only the head chef remained on duty. He looked at me curiously. "What are you here for, little comrade?" I gave him my sweetest smile. "Uncle, my father just had surgery. Could I borrow your stove and pot to make him some porridge?" "Don't worry, whatever the fee is, I'll pay it." I pulled out a few small bills as proof. The chef had seen plenty of people borrow his kitchen before, but never one so quick to pull out cash. He chuckled. "Sure, 2 cents for one use. You'll need to bring your own seasonings, though." I nodded, handed over the 2 cents, thanked him, and headed to the back kitchen. Still a little wary, the chef stood nearby watching, just in time to see me pull an entire roasted chicken out from underneath the pristine white rice. "Chef, girl, that's a creative way to smuggle meat," he said, swallowing hard at the smell. I put on my most sheepish expression. "I left home in such a rush. I forgot to bring proper containers. Mind if I borrow a bowl too? Have you eaten yet? Want to share some?" His eyes lit up. He washed his hands and came over to help. "Let me tell you, porridge needs to be cooked just right to taste good." He put his full expertise to work, cooking up a batch of soft, fragrant, perfectly sweet porridge. Then he rinsed off the chicken, pulled the breast meat off, and tossed it in. Before long, a pot of delicious shredded chicken porridge was ready. I happily served him a big bowl, plus one whole drumstick. In return, he gave me a small dish of pickled vegetables, plus 2 thermoses and 2 aluminum lunch boxes to pack the leftover porridge and chicken for the hospital room. I thanked him, cleaned up the kitchen properly, and headed back with everything in hand. Back at the ward, my parents still hadn't woken up. I opened one of the lunch boxes and started eating. This porridge was genuinely delicious. Sweet, savory, perfectly cooked. The pickled vegetables were great too, crisp and fresh. Only thing missing was a steamed bun, but hey, close enough. Just as I was completely absorbed in eating, Lu Yuan walked back in. I glanced up, confused. "You're back already?" Lu Yuan was fuming internally. Here he was, starving after getting kicked out of a restaurant, while she sat here happily eating alone. Reading the look on his face perfectly, I slid one of the thermoses toward him. "You didn't get enough to eat, huh? Here, drink some while it's still hot." The cafeteria chef made it himself. It's really good. After a whole day of grinding frustration, Lu Yuan hadn't expected Qiao Manman to have this kind of gentle side to her. Even more surprising, all that resentment building up inside him just vanished over one small offer of porridge. He strode over and sat down beside her, unscrewed the thermos, and the irresistible smell hit him instantly. His stomach growled loud enough to be embarrassing. I blinked, caught off guard. "Wait, you didn't eat." "We got there too late." The chef had already gone home for the night, he answered steadily, though his ears went faintly red. He screwed the lid back on. "I'll take some over to Dr. Lee." I nodded, quietly telling the system to strip the packaging off a couple egg yolk mooncakes, then said out loud, "There's still some chicken left too. Take that with you." "Oh, and here, a few pastries as well." While he was busy repacking the lunch boxes, I used my body to block the drawer and pulled 4 egg yolk mooncakes out of storage. "I traded for these earlier, something to eat on the way." He eyed me suspiciously. "Traded with what, exactly?" "The gold and silver peanuts, remember? You literally watched me take them." A flash of memory, me savagely knocking someone unconscious to grab stolen goods, passed through his mind, and he just nodded. "Be careful out there. Things are being watched pretty closely lately. If you're ever short on cash, you can just borrow from me." I smiled, thinking maybe this original male lead wasn't entirely hopeless after all. Once he left, I grabbed a kiwi from storage and slurped it down happily. Checked my parents' foreheads. No fever on either. Then settled against the wall corner and closed my eyes to rest. Guess my nerves had been wound tight all day, because the second I let my guard down, I passed right out. Didn't even notice when Lu Yuan came back. Under the dim yellow light, my sleeping face looked peaceful. Thin frame aside, it wasn't hard to notice how genuinely pretty this girl's features were. No wonder Dr. Lee teased him about not understanding romance. Apparently, he really didn't. Checking on Qiao Manman, Lu Yuan noticed his forehead felt a little warm. He rushed to grab the night shift doctor, who said the fever was mild, nothing requiring medication yet, just sponge him down to cool his temperature. Despite moving quietly, the noise woke me halfway. Once I understood the situation, I stayed calm, borrowed a basin from the doctor, and fetched warm water from the water room. Couldn't find a towel anywhere, so I just soaked the cloth bundle wrap itself and used that to wipe down his forehead, neck, and underarms. Lu Yuan pitched in too, and the two of us worked together smoothly. 10 minutes in, while he stepped away to refresh the water, I slipped a fever pill into my father's mouth. It dissolved instantly, gone by the time Lu Yuan got back. We kept at it, and after another 10 minutes or so, his temperature finally dropped. We sat down by the window to rest. Comrade Lu, thank you. He nodded, exhausted.
Zontak.
About earlier. I wasn't trying to damage your reputation on purpose. I just panicked, thought people wouldn't trust me otherwise, so I lied about us being together. Bringing it up made me a little embarrassed, but I figured I owed him a proper explanation, so there'd be no lingering resentment. Don't worry, once we're back at the village, I won't cling to you at all. And if anyone ever gossips about us, I'll firmly take your side. Tell them you were. Just being a good Samaritan, model behavior everyone should learn from. Even though that matched exactly what he'd wanted to hear, hearing me say it so calmly somehow left him feeling oddly hollow, like he was something unpleasant that I was eager to distance myself from. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes. I waited a while for a response, got nothing, waved a hand in front of his face, no reaction. Figured he'd fallen asleep. Didn't dwell on it further. I'd said my piece, whatever he made of it wasn't really my problem. Closed my eyes and checked in with the system. Hey, check-in time. Sure thing, host. Congratulations, 1 cubic meter of supplies and a fertility pill. Another fertility pill? System, you're lying to me. Didn't you say your dimension doesn't have birth quotas? Why do I keep getting these things? Are you trying to get me pregnant with, 99 babies in one go? Don't get so worked up, host. You can always sell it at a high price again, just like yesterday. I'm sure plenty of couples out there could use one. Fair point, actually, but I couldn't exactly go around asking random strangers if they wanted twins. People would think I'd lost my mind. I rolled my eyes internally and checked my inventory instead. This round of supplies was actually decent. Storage boxes, thermoses, insulated lunch containers, hot water flasks, enamel mugs and basins, white towels, men's and women's underwear, rubber gloves, rain boots, toothpaste and toothbrushes, shampoo, conditioner, various skincare and cosmetics. Plus some stationery, ballpoint pens, gel pens, fountain pens, ink, printer paper, notebooks, a calculator. Reasonably satisfied, considering I currently owned literally nothing and couldn't easily buy anything either. I sorted everything, then let myself drift off to sleep. Within minutes, I was lightly snoring. That's when Lu Yuan opened his eyes. He studied my face and wrists carefully for a long moment, confirming there were no tricks or hidden marks on my skin, before settling back down himself, troubled and thoughtful. Morning light spilled through the window. I rubbed my stiff neck and woke up slowly. Glanced at the spot beside me. Empty. Touched the stool. No lingering warmth, meaning Lu Yuan had left a while ago. Yawning, I checked on my parents. Before my hand even reached my father's forehead, his eyes fluttered open, and he rasped out, "Horse. Man. Here," I answered, and rushed to help him sit up when he tried, propping a folded blanket and pillow behind him for support. "Dad, your bones just got set. Don't move around too much," he hummed in acknowledgement, carefully touching his injured leg. Man, where's Comrade Lu? Your dad really owes him for saving these legs." I shrugged it off modestly, smiling. He went out for a walk. Should be back soon. I stepped out to fetch the doctor for his bandage change. Once everything was handled, I unscrewed the thermos. "Dad, drink some of this. You haven't eaten in a whole day and night. You must be starving," he nodded, then glanced over at Mother. "She still hasn't woken up." "Not yet. Doctor says it's from the shock and exhaustion. She just needs proper rest to recover her strength." Hearing that, he finally turned his attention to the thermos. Seeing the soft, glossy shredded chicken porridge inside, He fought the urge to swallow hard and asked, "Daughter, where on earth did this come from?" I said it like it was nothing. Traded some gold and silver peanuts for it. Then I leaned in close to my father, all mysterious. "Hey, Dad, why exactly do we have something that valuable lying around anyway?" He glanced nervously at the door, checked it was shut, then relaxed and whispered, "How do you even know about that?" I gave him a look. Cousin Jinjun was literally caught red-handed robbing our room. Lu Yuan and I busted her in the act. 1 minute later, and she'd have gotten away with it. "What about the bracelet? Did you get it back?" I rubbed my nose, lying smoothly. "Got it back, accidentally smashed it, though." He winced. "That was your mother's personal keepsake." Then he sighed. "Well, it's been years anyway. Probably wouldn't have mattered." I dug through my memory for any relevant plot points, but came up empty. Made sense, really. I'm just a side character. What author bothers writing detailed backstory for canon fodder? Oh, and Dad, do you know anything about this lock pendant? Seems pretty important. Both Grandma and Jinjin wanted it badly. I pulled the heavily tarnished silver pendant out of storage and handed it to him. He looked it over and nodded. "I've had this since I was a kid." Growing up, though, he'd noticed his mother eyeing it with wolfish intensity sometimes, so he'd hidden it away eventually. Wow, Cousin Jinjin's got a good eye, found the jade bracelet and this pendant. I searched her pockets too. Found over 20 yuan on her. That reminded me, I'd stashed a little emergency cash of my own earlier, which happened to add up perfectly to cover the hospital fees. Since we were on the subject, I didn't hold back one bit when it came to Grandma Qiao. "Dad, are you actually her real son?" When Uncle Jean Wang came to tell us about your accident, Grandma just stood there like a block of ice. Didn't seem worried at all. I got down on my knees begging for money, and she still wouldn't hand any over. Only after the team leader and comrade Lu stepped in did she reluctantly cough up 10 yuan, his nails dug into his palms, face twisted with quiet anguish. I kept twisting the knife. "And honestly, Dad, if Grandma dislikes you this much, why would she even bother making you a silver pendant in the first place? My uncles don't have anything like this." "You don't think?" "She maybe stole it from somewhere." That gave him pause. He started replaying old memories, and a flicker of doubt crept in, though he had no actual proof. All right, enough of that. Try the porridge, tell me how it tastes." I scooped a big spoonful and fed it to him. The soft, comforting flavor clearly hit the spot. A few mouthfuls in, his stomach finally settled down. I asked, pleased with myself, "Good, right?" The cafeteria chef made it himself. Eyes misting, he nodded. So good. He hadn't had plain porridge like this in over a decade. Never expected it to taste this sweet, this comforting. All these years he'd basically given up on himself, dragging his wife and daughter through hardship right along with him. Man, Dad's so sorry." I reached over and wiped away his tears, saying nothing. After all, the person he'd wronged was the original Man, not me. I was just wearing her face. Getting that off his chest seemed to lighten him considerably. He set the thermos aside, saying he wanted to save some for Mother. I didn't argue, just screwed the lid back on for him. We waited. And waited. By the time doctors and nurses started their morning shift, Hon Yen still hadn't woken up. I frowned, suspecting this wasn't just simple shock and exhaustion after all. Just as I was about to fetch a doctor myself, Lu Yuan walked in with Dr. Li, seeing my father awake, Dr. Li examined both legs carefully. Finally nodded. Not bad. He's cleared the first hurdle. From here, he needs bed rest, minimal movement. Follow-up check in 3 months to assess bone recovery, then we can consider proper rehab. Dad asked, "Doctor, how much function will I get back in this leg?" Hard to say. Some patients walk normally again, others end up with a limp. Either way, keeping any walking ability at all is genuinely fortunate given how bad this injury was. Dr. Li shot me a meaningful look. With a daughter this capable, your luck's about to turn around. Don't lose hope, my father hummed, then turned to look at Mother. Doctor, would you mind examining my wife as well? Dr. Li raised an eyebrow and reached for her pulse. I blinked, then whispered to Lu Yuan, wait, he does both Western and Chinese medicine. Lu Yuan confirmed, trained under a master of traditional medicine. I was floored. What kind of luck did I have, landing a top-tier specialist on literally my first day in this world? Be still my beating heart. Dr. Lee examined her pulse for a couple minutes, then his expression turned serious as he checked the back of her skull. Has your wife ever suffered any head trauma? Yes, she was struck on the back of the head. My father's mind drifted back 20 years. I found her by the riverside. She was badly hurt, nearly didn't make it. Once she finally woke up, she'd lost all her memories. Every so often afterward, she'd start rambling nonsense, banging her head against walls. The whole village said she was. Comrade Ho isn't mentally ill. Dr. Lee cut in. There's internal bleeding pressing against her nerves. That's what's causing the erratic behavior. My father's shock quickly gave way to quiet joy. Can you treat it, doctor? Nian Nian must want to go home so badly. Dr. Lee flinched slightly at the nickname Nian Nian, privately thinking this father-in-law was awfully affectionate. Wondered idly whether Lu Yuan was actually going to have an easy time winning over this future wife. Just as his mind wandered, he felt a cold draft brush pass behind him. No doubt Lu Yuan silently judging him from somewhere nearby. Feeling distinctly targeted, Dr. Lee straightened stiffly. Yes, I can treat this. Overjoyed, my father tried to bow in gratitude, but with his injured legs, even sitting upright properly was a struggle. Easy, easy. Don't hurt your leg further, or your wife and daughter will just have to take care of you even longer. That only made him laugh, not the least bit offended. Dr. Lee shot Lu Yuan a look. Lu Yuan nodded, borrowed a bottle of alcohol from the nurse's station, and locked the door behind him. Dr. Lee pulled a cloth bundle from his coat, unrolling a set of silver acupuncture needles of varying lengths. After disinfecting them, he began inserting them into Mother's scalp. Within minutes, she looked like a human pincushion. I stood frozen in the corner, barely breathing, wincing like the needles were going into me, frantically calling out to the system in my head. Hey, can you just give me a pill that dissolves brain bleeding on command? The system huffed, offended. Host, you haven't completed a single mission and you're already asking for premium items? What kind of fantasy is this? I put on my most innocent face. I mean, I'm surviving, aren't I? As for the female lead, we're separated by literal mountains and rivers. How am I supposed to be stealing her luck from here? At yen%yen, and a wall of garbled static exploded in my head, leaving me dizzy and disoriented. Stop, stop, stop. The static cut off, and the system's voice came back, ice cold. Host, kindly figure that part out yourself. I felt a little put out, honestly. Why so harsh? This was literally my first time even having a system. Was it really that unreasonable to need some hand-holding? The system seemed to shrink back a bit, voice going soft again. Don't be upset, host. The mission's actually simple. I'm just bound by rules that stop me from spelling it out directly. You've got this, host. Love you lots. I hummed, letting it go, and turned my attention back to Dr. Lee. He was gently twirling the ends of the acupuncture needles. 15 minutes later, he pulled them all out one by one. After sterilizing and packing up his tools, he told my father, normally you'd need at least 3 consecutive sessions to see real results. Unfortunately, I've got obligations back in my unit, and Comrade Lu's already booked my ticket, so I can only do 1 more session tomorrow morning before heading out. After that, it's mostly a matter of proper rest and recovery, whether the internal bleeding would fully clear, whether her memory would return. That part was completely out of anyone's hands. My father rubbed his hands together, clearly wanting to beg Dr. Lee to stay another day for more treatments, but he knew that was too much to ask. After some hesitation, he said nothing at all. He watched Dr. Lee walk off, then sighed heavily on the bed. I comforted him. Dad, don't worry. Mom's tough, lucky too. She'll probably bounce back on her own eventually. Worst case, I just keep grinding missions until the system finally handed me some miracle cure that fixed her completely. He nodded, though his expression suddenly turned strange. Turned out he needed the bathroom. Now that was a problem. Lu Yuan was out seeing Dr. Lee off. There was no way I, a teenage girl, was carrying my father into the men's restroom myself. Quick thinking required. I ducked into the room next door and found a sturdy-looking young guy, handed him 10 cents, and, using the cabinet as cover, slipped my father 4 squares of toilet paper. Dad, use it sparingly. It wasn't easy to come by. The guy's eyes lit up seeing the toilet paper. Hey, little sister, could you spare a few sheets for me too? My wife just had a baby. I politely declined. Sorry, brother, I traded for that myself. Honestly, if I hadn't heard city folks are picky about smells, I would have just gone outside and found a few sticks to make do. He gave me a suspicious once-over, then laughed it off. You seem so well off. I figured your whole family had proper jobs. I spread my hands, deliberately showing off the patches on my clothes. Not even close, we're just village folk. My boyfriend's out running an errand, and Dad here really needs to go. Ran out of options, sorry to trouble you. Actually, let me check if my boyfriend's back yet. The moment I said that, the guy scooped my father up and bolted, clearly terrified I might change my mind and ask for the 10 cents back. 10 cents wasn't nothing, after all, that could buy half a pound of coarse grain. Hoping for future favors, he took great care of my father, helped him relieve himself, wiped his face gently, laid him back down carefully. Little sister, call on me anytime you need something. I smiled and saw him out, right as Lu Yuan came back from seeing Dr.
Lee off.
One sharp look from Lu Yuan, and the guy's legs went weak. He practically sprinted away. I lowered my voice and explained what happened with the bathroom situation. Lu Yuan didn't say much, just quietly registered that this family really needed a son around. No wonder my uncle had lived such a frustrating life all these years. Comrade Qiao, I need to head back to the production team, Lu Yuan said, though for some reason the words seemed to come out with real difficulty. I smiled gratefully. Of course. You've already done so much for us. Once I'm back, I'll personally come thank you properly. No need to be so formal about it. His voice dropped lower. He pulled the 70 yuan back out of his pocket, plus some extra ration coupons. You'll need cash out here. Take this for now. We'll settle everything once we're back at the village. I won't have time to see Dr. Lee off myself, so I'll need you to handle that. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. He turned to say goodbye to my father, who grabbed his hand. I owe you so much, Comrade Lu. I genuinely don't know how I could ever repay you. Though Dr. Lee never said it outright, my father could tell. The doctor had only agreed to treat his leg and risk treating mother's head injury purely as a favor to Lu Yuan. That kind of gesture wasn't something he could easily brush off. A young man with no blood ties to him had treated him better than his own mother ever had. Lu Yuan just said, Comrade Qiao made the right calls at every turn, that's all this was. And honestly, it was true. Most girls, faced with situations like these, would have just cried and let themselves get pushed around.
Not me.
From knocking Da Hu unconscious in the lake, to smacking Zhen Zhen out cold, to marrying off Chun Chao, to cornering Grandma Qiao into paying up, every single move required nerve and decisive action. Borrowing the transport truck, trading jewelry for cash, each step demanded serious guts. How strong did someone's nerves have to be to pull all that off? And more importantly, how exactly was she predicting how everything would unfold so precisely? Lu Yuan left, thoroughly puzzled. I walked him to the door, then grabbed the thermos and lunch boxes and headed to the cafeteria. Missed mealtime again. The chef sighed regretfully. Why didn't you come earlier? I saved you some fried dough sticks, but someone else bought them up. I scratched my head, embarrassed. Uncle Hu, I didn't have ration coupons anyway. Even if I'd come, I couldn't have bought anything. Then, lowering my voice, but my boyfriend got me some ham. Want to whip up a quick stir-fry together? Sure. You handle the ham, I'll grab some greens. Stove's all yours. I smiled, washed the thermos, put it back, and slipped away. Found a quiet corner, pulled out an enamel basin, enamel mug, hot water flask, white towel, toothpaste and toothbrush from storage, and carried them back openly. My father's eyes went wide seeing all that, but I just smiled and offered no explanation. Slipped away one more time, grabbed 2 pounds of rice and a big chunk of ham, and skipped happily back to the cafeteria. Lunch prep was already underway. The chef bought some celery and tofu with his own money, took the ham from me, and started chopping away. Uncle, am I holding up your work? He laughed. Nah, they haven't even finished prepping their own dishes yet. What you brought is nothing, takes no time at all. True enough, the stir-fry came together fast, though the rice took longer. By the time the dish and soup were done, They'd already started cooling while waiting on the rice to finish steaming. I borrowed an insulated lunchbox again to send a portion over to Dr. Lee. The rest, one bowl for me, one for the chef, one saved for my parents, and the leftover half pot of soup got shared around with everyone else on staff, courtesy of Chef Hu. The savory, fragrant flavor had everyone smiling, and not a single person complained about me interrupting their cooking schedule. As I left, the Annie serving portions called out, "Come by my window tonight, little Qiao, I'll fill your bowl right up." I thanked her sincerely and left, still catching the teasing laughter behind me. Wow, that generous, huh? I think you're just after little Qiao's meat. Oh, stop it. Listening to the laughter fade behind me, I couldn't help but smile a little myself. It was just a bit of meat. After all, I could afford it, so long as everyone kept doing me these little favors in return. Back in the ward, I found Mother, already awake. Once she heard my father's leg was going to be okay, her whole demeanor calmed down considerably. She'd even found the chicken porridge herself and finished it off completely, though her memories of the past were still a total blank. I greeted her, and she grabbed my hand, looking terrified. Man, I had this nightmare. I dreamed that Vistahu had. I felt a flicker of panic, then laughed it off. Mom, it was just a dream. Look at me, I'm totally fine. Actually, funny enough, Chun Chao got dragged home by the Zhaos instead, forced to marry Dahu herself. Both my parents looked confused, so I sat down and calmly, cheerfully walked them through how Chun Chao had tried to frame me, leaving out the part where I'd actually fallen in the lake myself. Mother gasped, "Thank goodness you're okay." I don't know what I would have done. I hummed in response, privately thinking, sure, I'm fine, but the original Man wasn't. That debt still needed settling eventually. I opened the thermos, and the aroma hit instantly. Even after already finishing her porridge, Mother's mouth was watering all over again. I split the food between my parents using enamel bowls, let them eat, cleaned everything up afterward, and headed out for a walk around the city. Meanwhile, back at the production team, Lu Yuan had barely returned before he got swarmed. "Comrade Lu, what's going on with old Qiao number 3? Why didn't he come back with you?" Before leaving, I'd already told him roughly what I was planning to say. His expression grew serious. Not great. He needed surgery, still in the hospital. That leg might. Surgery? That must have cost a fortune. Good heavens. You don't think they had to cut old Qiao's leg off, do you? Old Sun said his leg got crushed to mush. How could anyone possibly save that? Before Lu Yuan could get another word out, he got jostled aside as the crowd's gossip picked up steam. He just shook his head and headed straight for the team leader's office. He reported the situation to Wang Defa. Uncle Qiao's leg is saved, but he won't be able to do heavy labor anymore going forward. His wife's condition isn't great either. The doctor recommended rest, no exertion. Wang Defa puffed away at his pipe, clearly troubled. Setting aside the fact that the third branch of the Qiao family barely had any working hands to begin with, Grandma Qiao's blatant favoritism toward the other branches meant this little family's future looked pretty grim. Team leader, this hospital stay cost over 100 yuan. By rights, the quarry should be covering that. Wang Defa's jaw dropped. That much? The specialist who operated on Uncle Qiao's leg came from the capital. His fees run high. Honestly, we got lucky. He happened to be on assignment nearby. Otherwise, if that leg had been amputated, our production team would have been supporting the whole Qiao family for the rest of their lives. That landed hard. Wang Defa took a long drag on his pipe, nodding. All right, I'll figure out how to handle this with the quarry. Lu Yuan hummed and turned to leave, but Wang Defa stopped him. Comrade Lu, what exactly is going on between you and Man? Lu Yuan paused mid-step. Nothing much. I just felt bad for her. Gave her a hand. Wang Defa clearly didn't buy it, but didn't press further either. Instead, he added meaningfully, "If you're going to court her, do it properly. Don't string along a good girl from our village." Lu Yuan. Absolutely nothing he could say to defend himself here. At 7:30 that evening, I brought 5 pounds of white flour over to the chef. "Uncle Hu, could you steam up some buns with this?" He nodded happily. "Sure thing, Man. When do you need them?" "Tomorrow morning early. Dr. Lee's leaving. I want to send him off with some travel food. He lowered his voice. That's not the whole story, is it? This much flour, one man alone couldn't finish it. I grinned and gave him a thumbs up. You've got sharp eyes, uncle. Since we're already close now, someone asked me to help turn some fine flour into buns so they could treat themselves a bit better. I didn't need to spell it out. Further, he understood exactly what I meant. His tone turned serious. Since I like you, kid, let me say this once. Be careful who you get mixed up with. I nodded immediately. I know, uncle. My parents are both stuck in the hospital. I don't have much choice right now. Don't worry, this is a one-time thing. I'll behave after this. I pulled a chunk of ham from my pocket. Here, a little something from them as thanks. Take it home for your nephew to try. He blinked, surprised, then pocketed the ham, officially throwing his lot in with mine. Ahem. Come by around 4 tomorrow morning to pick everything up. Better nobody sees, less explaining that way. I smiled. Sounds good. Thanks, Uncle Who. Back in the ward, I pulled 2 mooncakes from the enamel mug and handed them to my parents. Dad, Mom, eat something. Fill your stomachs. They both stared at the flaky, crumbling mooncakes, unsure how to even start. Man, where on earth did you get these? I didn't answer, just kept gesturing for them to eat. Once they'd finished, I brushed the crumbs off the blanket and settled into my corner to sleep. Mother looked at the dark circles under my eyes and couldn't find the words, just felt a deep ache watching me. My father squeezed her hand. Nyen, our girl's really grown up. That night, my sleep was restless. Even though I'd already asked the system to wake me at 3:30, I still worried about oversleeping and missing the timing. Plus, honestly, the stool was too small and the wall corner too hard. The fact that I fell asleep at all just showed how exhausted I was. Host, wake up. I jolted awake, blinking into a pitch-dark room, just a sliver of moonlight coming through the window. I stretched and mentally called out, System, check in, sure thing, host. Congratulations, 1 cubic meter of supplies and a fertility pill. Hearing fertility pill, again barely even registered anymore. My family's suspicions were confirmed at this point. My dimensional check-in system was secretly just a baby delivery system in disguise. I sighed and checked my haul. Turned out this round was actually decent, a 3-way combo space fragment. 1/3 was frozen goods, fish, shrimp, various fried items, pork, beef, and lamb. Another 1/3 was ready-to-eat food, milk, bread, candy, cookies, dried fruit, drinks, spicy snack strips, instant hot pot, and packaged instant noodles. The final 1/3 was fresh produce, mushrooms, cabbage, broccoli, green beans, tomatoes, zucchini, eggplant, potatoes, sweet potatoes, and a basket of eggs, plus small box treats like cherries, autumn pears, lemons, and persimmons. All stuff I genuinely loved. Problem was, none of it really fit the season. May, and the system was apparently celebrating Mid-Autumn Festival somewhere. Bit of a time zone mismatch there. Noticing some canvas bags tucked at the top of the space, I pulled them out and checked. No branding or markings anywhere. Then grabbed them and headed off toward the cafeteria. The cafeteria stood empty except for a single dim oil lamp lighting up the chef, already busy at work. He heard footsteps at the door, flashed a big, toothy grin, and called out in a low, spooky voice, "You're here." If I weren't such a hardcore materialist at heart, that greeting alone would have had me screaming. But nah, I've got the motherland and a system backing me up. Nothing scares me. I walked up to the stove, smiling. Uncle Who, what are you up to? Boiled you a couple eggs. Here, eat up. He fished 2 eggs out of the pot, ran them under cold water, and set them in front of me. I didn't refuse, split one with him. Once we'd both eaten, I pulled a handful of candy from my pocket. Here, pay back. He took it without hesitation, pocketed the candy, flicked my nose playfully, then peeled his own egg and ate it in 2 bites. Tossed the shells in the fire pit just as the last batch of steamed buns finished up. He lifted the lid to let the steam clear, took the canvas bag from me, and started loading in the now-cooled buns. Ran out of room partway through. Want to make a first trip out with what's here? I waved him off. No need, I've got another bag. Then, like magic, I produced an identical canvas bag from somewhere. He took it, turning it over in his hands. This is a nice bag you've got here. Sturdy fabric, fine stitching, he genuinely liked it, probably hoping to snag one like it for his wife to use at work. I caught his drift immediately, felt my scalp prickle with unease, and quickly changed the subject. "Uncle, what time does Auntie Lee usually start her shift?" "Soon, around 5, usually," he said, a little disappointed but not upset. Fabric coupons were hard to come by, especially for canvas this nice. He efficiently packed everything up and told me to come back if I needed more. I waved goodbye, found a quiet corner, and stashed the hot buns in my storage space, leaving only 12 cooled ones in the bag. Added 2 unlabeled canned goods, a pound of milk candy from the supply co-op, and 2 packs of walnut pastries, then carried it all back to the ward. Dawn was just breaking by the time I got back. My parents were already awake. After a day of rest, Mother looked considerably better. She'd washed her face at the water room and even sponged down my father herself. Seeing how much better they both looked, I smiled and handed them each a big, white steamed bun. Around 6, I went back to the cafeteria and got a mug of oil tea for them too. They finally ate and drank their fill, licking their lips in satisfaction, though clearly worried that no amount of stolen jewelry could sustain eating like this indefinitely. I reassured them. Lu Yuan left me plenty of money before he went back, enough to cover us until discharge. My father frowned, thinking privately, money or not, it's still a debt we'll have to repay eventually. Grandma Qiao certainly wasn't going to help cover it, and none of his siblings had ever shown a shred of warmth either. At exactly 7, Dr. Lee knocked on the door. I welcomed him in and introduced him to Mother. After brief pleasantries, we locked the door, and he disinfected his needles and began the session. Mother was nervous at first, bracing for pain. But once the needles actually went in, she realized there wasn't any real discomfort, just a mild, dull soreness. Dr. Lee worked with practiced ease, chatting casually between insertions to keep her relaxed and distracted. Before long, she drifted off to sleep. He carefully removed the needles, sterilized them, and packed everything away. He lowered his voice. "Comrade Qiao, I need to head out now. Until we meet again, fate willing." My father desperately wanted to see him off properly, but with his legs still aching, he couldn't move. Man, go see the doctor out quickly." I grabbed the canvas bag and followed. Dr. Lee stopped to say goodbye to the hospital director first, so I waited by the stairwell, then walked with him toward the train station once he was done. "No need to trouble yourself, Comrade Qiao. I can find my own way to the station." I grinned playfully. "Lu Yuan specifically asked me to see you off. If I don't, he'll be upset with me." That settled it. He stopped protesting. As we walked together, he asked, amused, "How long have you two known each other?" "Is he always this stiff and awkward?" I answered vaguely, half distracted.
He's all right.
"Very principled. Pretty empathetic too, actually." He gave me a surprised look, then laughed, a sly sort of laugh. "Guess love really does make people blind to flaws." I didn't fully understand what he meant by that, but didn't dig further either. Walked him all the way into the station and waited with him for the train. Just as the train came thundering in, I shoved the canvas bag into his hands, and before he could react, waved and dashed off. The train pulled to a stop, passengers pushing to board. Dr. Lee peeked inside the bag, alarmed, but by the time he looked up, I'd already vanished into the crowd. Worried about missing his train, he had no choice but to carry the bag on board. Once he got settled, I reappeared, standing a short distance away, waving. He smiled, genuinely this time. That Liu kid's got himself an interesting one. Seemed like it wouldn't be long before the Liu family had a wedding to plan. I had no idea what conclusions he'd drawn. Watched the train pull away, went back to the hospital to leave my parents some cash and coupons, then headed back to the production team. City to county was a 2 to 3 hour bus ride. County to commune, half an hour more. Commune to production team, another half hour on top of that. All told, travel alone would eat up half my day. Normally, I wouldn't bother with all that hassle. But I remembered something important. Tomorrow, Zhenzhen was heading to the county for a hiring exam. By rights, given her actual grades, there was zero chance she'd pass. But somehow, through pure dumb luck, she ended up landing an office job at the machinery factory anyway. Respectable position, sharp personality. enough to finally win over the Chin family, who'd previously been unenthusiastic about their engagement, and get the wedding approved. 3 months later, her fiancé Chin Shert-sung earned a promotion that qualified his family to join him on military assignment. So Jeonjun happily handed her factory job over to her husband's younger brother and headed north with him, leaving Grandma Qiao grumbling about ungrateful grandchildren for ages afterward. This time, I plan to take that exam myself. Partly for petty revenge, cutting off Jeonjun's lucky break entirely. Partly, honestly, because rural life was brutal and I needed to carve out my own way forward. If you asked me what my father did right in his life, it'd have to be making sure the original Man got a proper education. Being the first educated man to leave Green Mountain Village, he understood exactly how valuable schooling was. Grandma Qiao cried, screamed, even threatened to hang herself over it, but he never backed down. Stood in the doorway with a kitchen cleaver, daring anyone who opposed his daughter going to school. That stubborn, fierce resolve actually scared the family into submission. And so Man studied for years, inheriting her father's sharp mind, and made it all the way through high school. I once asked him afterward, "Dad, you're clearly capable. So, why didn't you ever fight to get your old job back from Uncle?" My father just stammered. Honestly, Dad was actually planning to end things himself back then. If Grandma had pushed just 2 more minutes, I'd have gone to meet your great-grandfather. Me? Yeah. I definitely overestimated this man. Shaking off the memory, I took a deep breath, faced the dusty country road ahead, and marched under the blazing sun toward the team leader's office. Wang Dafe had just finished announcing the day's work assignments when he spotted me standing at the door and quickly cut off the loudspeaker. He waved me in with a smile. Man, how's your dad doing? When's he coming back? I put on my most worried expression. His legs saved, but it nearly cost him. Doctor says the tissue damage alone needs over a month to heal. The bone needs at least 3 months before he can even try walking again. Best case, once it heals, he still won't be able to do heavy labor. So really, Dad's leg is technically still attached and he can hobble around a bit. Wang Dafe hissed through his teeth. That's serious, huh? I gave him a pointed look. It was a boulder, team leader. A massive rock rolling down from the mountain, right onto my father's leg. Speaking of, has the quarry figured out what actually caused that accident? Rocks don't just decide to roll down and crush someone's leg on their own. He shifted uncomfortably. Uncle Yuan Fong went straight there to investigate once he was back, but with everything so chaotic that day, nothing's confirmed yet. I hummed, unsurprised, then asked, and the medical bills? That question made him even more uncomfortable. Manager's son said your father's injury was technically work-related, but he's assigning some of the responsibility to your dad too. Says if he'd reacted faster, he could have avoided it entirely. So he's only agreed to cover part of the costs. I nearly laughed out loud. What kind of garbage excuse was that? Like anyone can dodge a falling boulder from a mountain. If you're going to shirk responsibility, at least come up with a decent excuse. I took a breath and said, fine. Team leader, please push on my behalf to get that remaining half covered as soon as possible. Watching how calm I stayed, Wang Dafe actually felt a little guilty. He had no idea I was quietly plotting a proper confrontation with this manager-son character. Team leader, I actually came back today for a referral letter. Without one, I can barely function in the city. Truth be told, I'd even had to pay someone just to hitch a ride on their bus ticket to get back here at all. Otherwise. He smacked his forehead. My memory. Comrade Liu mentioned this the moment he got back. Asked me to send someone with your paperwork. But things got busy, and it slipped through the cracks. In reality, the Qiao family just hadn't bothered. He'd brought it up with them twice already, and nothing had happened. And nobody else in the production team had any reason to spend their own time and money running errands for a family they weren't related to. That excuse was really just a face-saving cover-up, but I let it slide, took the referral letter, and left. I arrived at the Qiao family home to find the gate shut tight. I frowned. Obviously, I didn't have a key. Genuinely absurd if you think about it. The original Man had lived in this compound for 18 years, doing laundry and cooking for every branch of the family, and somehow never once got her own house key. What kind of nightmare tier joke was that? And yet here we were. The main issue was that the old Qiao homestead was usually never empty. Fourth aunt was the pampered type, rarely working the fields, staying home to babysit grandma's favorite grandson, little Qiao Bauer. And Jinjin dropped by constantly, playing the spoiled princess, waited on hand and foot the whole time. On my way back, I ran into Auntie Guilin, which meant word of my return had probably already spread through the whole village. Gate locked shut. Obviously Grandma Qiao's way of showing me who's boss. If this were the original Man, she'd probably be out in the fields right now, sobbing an apology to everyone. But me? 21st century professional slacker. My solution? Break in. I took a running start, vaulted straight over the wall, and landed clumsily on the other side, nearly twisting my ankle. Luckily, some firewood piled against the wall cushioned my fall. Unfortunately, stepping on it sent logs rolling everywhere across the yard. Didn't bother cleaning up the mess. Went straight to the west wing where my family lived. No lock on the door. Everyone knew the third branch was dirt poor. Even a thief would leave in tears. Pushing the door open, though, still made me furious. Every remotely valuable item was gone. Only the big, immovable pieces, cabinet, storage chest, remained. I closed my eyes, pulled the graduation certificate out from a hidden compartment beneath the cabinet, and stashed it in my storage space. Then dug a paperclip out of my system's stationery stash, straightened it, and started picking locks, determined to find out exactly who'd been sticky-fingered enough to clean out our few remaining possessions. Checked around the whole compound. Turned out every room except Grandma Qiao's own had at least a few of our family's missing items scattered inside. I laughed dryly, decided to be generous, and sold our own stolen junk back to each family member, 2 yuan per item. By the time I finished the full circuit, my pockets were bulging with cash. Satisfied, I vaulted back over the wall and left, running into some village kids on the way. Gave them a friendly wave. Little fatty, where are you headed? Stay away from the lake, okay? That's where Uncle Da, who drowned just a couple days ago. Zhao Xiaopeng flinched, then asked, Sister Man, where are you off to? Heading back to the city. My parents are alone in the hospital. I need to get back and take care of them. He wiped his nose with the back of his hand, confused why she'd even mentioned that to him, then watched her leave and ran off to find his parents. His mother looked surprised. Weren't you at the lake catching fish? Sister Man said, Uncle Da, who drowned there. I got scared. That's just bad luck for Da Hu, Manhwa said, unfazed. Our boy's plenty lucky, just splashing around in some puddle. Nothing's gonna happen to him. That Man girl really doesn't know how to talk to kids. Then, catching herself. Wait, hold on. Everyone from the Qiao family's out working today. Even that pampered Zhao Shui's out there parading around with her 3-year-old, like she's got something to prove. This has gotta be intentional. She crouched down immediately. What else did Man say? Xiaopeng thought hard. Sister Man said nobody's taking care of her parents, so she has to go back and beg for food for them. If I'd known Xiaopeng would embellish my words this dramatically, I'd have rewarded him with a couple of milk candies on the spot. Li Manhwa, hearing, begging for food, was horrified and immediately started venting to her friends about how terribly the Qiao family was treating their own. Words spread like wildfire, and Grandma Qiao's glorious deeds made their way around the entire village fast. Villagers started eyeing the Qiao family with open disdain. Meanwhile, the family themselves stayed smug out in the fields, fully expecting me to come crawling back in tears, ready to beg forgiveness and kneel before them. They waited. And waited. Sun went down completely, and I still hadn't shown up. Grandma Qiao immediately started spreading her own filth about me. That little brat's probably off spending the night curled up in some man's arms somewhere. Li Manhwa wasn't having it, though. Man rushed straight back to the hospital to take care of her parents. No delays at all. Meanwhile, your family didn't even bother visiting your own son in the city after he got hurt this badly. And you're out here trash-talking your own granddaughter? What kind of person does that? 3 words, and they nailed the family's actual character perfectly. Everyone started openly judging Grandma Qiao. Her face couldn't hold together anymore. She snapped, "None of your business," and stormed off home. Still, most people muttered that I was the one being disrespectful, coming back to the village and not even stopping to pay respects to Grandma. Ungrateful child, raised for nothing, apparently. By the time the family got home, they found firewood scattered across the yard and froze in confusion. Rushed inside, panicked, but everything looked untouched, so they relaxed. Then someone counted the cash stash and realized a few yuan were missing. That's when the panic really set in. Fourth uncle started cursing up a storm, ready to run, and tattled to Grandma Qiao, but Zhao Shui grabbed his arm. If mother asks where your money came from, what exactly are you going to tell her? Good point. There was no good answer to that. The Qiao family hadn't officially split their finances. Technically, all money belonged to Grandma. But naturally, everyone had their own secret stash tucked away somewhere. Everyone except the eldest son who lived in the city. From second uncle down to the youngest aunt, every branch had their own private savings. I'd only taken 3 or 5 yuan from each family, but even that added up to real money. Everyone gritted their teeth in fury, but nobody dared make a big scene about it either. Just wait, they muttered. That brat's gotta come home eventually. When she does, we'll break her fingers for this. Meanwhile, I hummed a cheerful tune, walking lightly into the county town. Presented my referral letter and rented a room. Unfortunately, a shared dormitory-style room, already occupied by a mother and son. And yes, actually mother and son, even though the boy barely reached her waist, something about his eyes felt way older than 6 or 7 years old should look. I paused for a second, scanned the room, and picked the bed as far from them as possible. Told the front desk staff, then stepped back out. Using the fabric coupons Lu Yuan had given me, I bought a decently presentable outfit at the supply co-op, carried it in my canvas bag, then headed to the bathhouse and chatted up the staff, swapping some candy for a bath ticket when nobody else was looking, and paid to get in. The bathhouse was thick with steam. I felt a little out of place, honestly. Glanced at the other women, all perfectly at ease, then found the farthest corner faucet and scrubbed at my long neck. Before long, gray grime came off under my fingertips. I pulled a scrub towel out of my bag and gently worked over my skin. The day I first crossed over, I'd used a refresh charm. It hadn't just dried my clothes, it had left my skin noticeably smoother too. On top of that, this young body had a natural vibrancy to it. Honestly, my figure was giving off some serious fox spirit energy. Ahem. Focus, man. No time for that. Using the bag as cover, I squeezed out some shampoo and worked it into my hair. 2 minutes of rinsing later, my dull brownish hair looked noticeably less frizzy. Rinsed off completely, wrapped myself in a towel, changed into clean underwear and the new outfit, then went to the state-run restaurant for dinner before wandering back to the guest house. Ignored the mother's hesitant glances and just collapsed onto the bed. Hadn't properly touched an actual bed since I crossed over days ago. Fell asleep almost instantly. The woman listened to my snoring and rubbed her stomach, resigned. Night fell fast. Then, rustling sounds started up in the room. Host, wake up. Someone's messing with your bag. I snapped awake instantly, spotting a shadowy figure hunched over at the foot of my bed, doing something. Even though there was nothing valuable in that bag, my eyes narrowed dangerously anyway. Pulled the sharp stone shard out of storage, flipped upright, and pressed it against the woman's throat, shrieking, "Help! Thief!" She startled awake in a panic, felt something sharp against her neck, assumed she was being held at knife point, and immediately began begging in a hushed voice. Please, sister, I'm sorry, I was just hungry, just looking for some food. I didn't buy it for a second. Sensed a shadow lunging at me from the dark. The system barely got a danger warning out before I swung the rock hard in that direction. The boy dropped instantly unconscious. I caught the distinct sound of metal clattering to the floor. Staff and other guests from the men's dorm came rushing in moments later, flipped on the lights, and stared wide-eyed at the scene. The woman instantly switched to a tragic, wounded expression. Help! She's insane. She tried to kill me. I stayed completely calm and shouted at the staff, "Call the police." I think something's very off about these two. The woman stiffened for a second, then quickly matched my energy.
Yes.
Call the police. I trust them not to fall for false accusations. With both sides accusing each other, the staff member froze, unsure what to do. I calmly took charge. Send someone for the police. Let them sort out who's telling the truth. Oh, okay. The flustered staffer stumbled off. A bespectacled man spoke up. It's not proper leaving no woman here to watch things. You stay. I'll go report it. The staffer thanked him gratefully, hovering by the door, too nervous to actually go inside.
The
police arrived fast. Before they could even speak, the woman burst into tears, sorrowful, pitiful sobbing that instantly softened every man in the room, all of them turning accusing looks my way. Already annoyed at being woken up in the first place, I snapped at the crowd. Quiet, then, to the officer. Look, this is my own bed. If I were the attacker, why would I be holding them hostage on my side of the room instead of theirs? And look down there on the floor, that kid just tried to stab me with a knife. My voice actually shook a little saying that. I'd genuinely come within an inch of ending up dead on that blade. If I were the criminal here, I'd have just used the knife myself. Why would I need to defend myself with a rock instead? The woman froze for a second, twisted her neck stiffly to look, and only then realized the knife pressed to her throat this whole time had actually just been a piece of rock. If she'd known that sooner, she would have fought back immediately. All right, everyone gather your things. You're all coming down to the station with me. I glanced outside. The sky was already faintly lightening toward dawn. Running the math in my head, I realized going to the police station now would completely blow my chance at the machinery factory hiring exam. Steeling myself, I pulled a truth charm from storage and slapped it onto the woman's skin. Pressed the rock a little harder against her throat.
talk.
Who are you, really, and why did you try to frame me? Her face twitched violently for a moment, then twisted into something genuinely menacing. My name is Asada Keiko. I'm here executing Mission 0523. The officer's expression turned instantly serious. He sent the curious onlookers back to bed, then picked up where I'd left off. What exactly is Mission 0523? Command is planning to blow up the Yang County train station. We were sent ahead to create chaos and pull local security forces' attention away from the real target. So, why did you steal from me? I asked, genuinely curious about that part. Her answer caught me completely off guard. You think missions like this fund themselves? You were dressed nicely. Clearly you had money to spare. Me. What kind of organization makes its agents cover mission expenses out of pocket? Talk about a scam operation. Good thing I'm too red and too disciplined to fall for that nonsense. What's the deal with the boy? I kept pressing. The woman struggled for a moment, then gritted her teeth. He's my husband. I blinked, genuinely floored. Wait, the little person? How old even is he? How did you two even end up together? I looked her over.
Wow, that's
Quite the taste you've got there. That single comment absolutely broke something in her. She went full hysterical under my grip, surprisingly strong. 2. I nearly lost my hold on her. The officer had to step in and help me pin her back down. The officer decided to take both of them in for questioning. When his gaze landed on me, I threw both hands up in panic. No, I've actually got the machinery factory hiring exam this morning, he nodded. Good luck on your exam then, Comrade Qiao. I thanked him with a smile and watched them all leave. Just as I was about to lock the door, the front desk clerk hurried over. Comrade, I'm so sorry. I never imagined those two were. She pulled out 2 yuan and handed it over. Truly sorry. This covers your room fee plus a little compensation. Please don't mention this to anyone. I took the cash without protest and locked the door, finally enjoying an oversized room all to myself. Except the sky was already brightening, and I couldn't fall back asleep no matter how hard I tried. Gave up, grabbed an enamel basin, towel, and thermos from storage, and went to the water room to wash up. Came back, sat cross-legged on the bed, and dug into bread, milk, and a chicken drumstick. Once my brain fully cleared from the food, I brewed a cup of black coffee to sharpen up. So good. Silently, I called out. System, check-in time, sure thing, host. Congratulations, 1 cubic meter of supplies, a fertility pill, and a strength pill. I froze for a second, then bounced straight off the bed, thrilled. Wait, seriously? I actually got something different this time? Yes. Congratulations, host. The main system must have noticed your luck rising and decided to reward you specially. I asked, curious. Because I caught that spy back there. the system chuckled. Honestly, host, I have no idea, but hey, feel free to keep pushing in that direction. I rolled my eyes internally. Catching a spy accidentally was one thing. I'm just a regular civilian. How am I supposed to keep tangling with ruthless enemy agents on purpose? Not everyone's as pathetically incompetent as that woman and her tiny husband. Duo. I swallowed the strength pill straight from storage, packed my things, and headed off, arriving at the machinery factory gates before long. It was exactly shift start time. Workers walked in with cheerful expressions, purposeful steps, calling greetings to each other as they entered. I stood in the shade, honestly a little envious. Sure, I'm naturally lazy by nature, but this era was so genuinely full of energy and purpose. Even I found myself wanting to march in there and contribute. The gates soon closed for the shift. I wasn't worried, just munched on some fruit in the shade, waiting. Eventually the gatekeeper came out with paste and a sheet of paper, moved fast to pin it to the wall, but before he could even step back, I shot forward like a little cannonball and skimmed the whole notice instantly, startling him half to death.
Who are you?
What do you want? He asked, tone sharp. I pulled 2 pieces of candy from my pocket and pressed them into his hand. I'm here for the exam. He blinked, pocketed the candy, said nothing, grabbed the announcement, and headed back inside. 2 minutes later, he came back out. Girl, did you catch everything on there? Want to go read it again inside? I smiled and nodded. All caught, uncle. Thank you. He grunted and went back to his tea. Half an hour later, a crowd had gathered outside the factory gates, all exam candidates. Looking around, mostly young people, full of energy. Not surprisingly, I spotted Junjun in the crowd. She looked equally shocked to see me there. I waved cheerfully, eyes gleaming with mischief. Junjun was about to say something sharp, then remembered the whole caught stealing incident back home, terrified I might blurt it out publicly if provoked. She ground her teeth in silent fury, stomping her foot with nowhere to direct her anger. A girl next to her asked, "What's wrong, Junjun? Why are you jumping around like that?" Pouting, Junjun twisted the story around completely, claimed I'd bullied her, and viciously spread a rumor that my mother was crazy. People back then were so trusting, nobody bothered checking facts, just believed her instantly. Soon everyone was giving me openly contemptuous looks. I could tell immediately she was up to nothing good, but honestly wasn't in the mood to fight her over it. Just gave her a quiet warning while filing into the exam hall. "Cousin, heard liars get 3 years of bad luck." That made her flinch slightly, though she stayed defiant. "You're the liar. Your whole family's liars." I laughed behind my hand. "Since our family hasn't officially split finances yet, technically that includes you too," then lower, right in her ear. "Dear cousin, you and I are stuck together whether we like it or not. If my reputation goes down, you think you're walking away clean? Dream on. People will just say the whole Qiao family raised us both wrong." Her face stiffened, but she still puffed up defiantly. "Maybe not. My dad's the logistics director at the steel factory, after all." Hearing that, a shadow of resentment flickered across my eyes. That job had originally belonged to my father, rightfully earned through his own exam scores, and now it was Junjun's little trump card to flaunt around. Seeing my silence, she scoffed and strutted off, chin held high. I stood there, a faint smile tugging at my lips. "Don't celebrate too early, cousin. The dirt on Uncle's household is way juicier than you think." Soon, staff guided everyone into the exam hall. Yen Cheng-ko, the office director, came in to read out the exam rules, while Union Officer Gui Feng went around checking everyone's graduation certificates and referral letters.
He handed me over.
Gui Feng looked mildly surprised, probably hadn't expected some random country girl to show up perfectly in time for the exam. What luck. She examined my diploma carefully, checked my stationery for any hidden cheat sheets, confirmed everything was clean, then moved on to the next candidate. I took a deep breath and accepted the test paper passed back from the row ahead. Skimmed it quickly, surprisingly simple. Still didn't get careless, and worked through it methodically. Finished all the objective questions in just 10 minutes flat. Felt about as challenging as a 5th grade graduation exam. Then the final essay questions stopped me cold. Not because I didn't know what to write, but because I had way too much to say and no idea where to start. The final question read, As a vital part of the industrial sector, the machinery factory not only carries the important mission of producing various components, but also plays a critical role in developing new technologies and manufacturing new products. Please use your imagination and offer suggestions for the factory's future development.